This is Stephanie, and this is the Mocha Minutes Podcast. Hey guys, before we get into the episode, I just want to let you know about something that's a little new here at the Mocha Minutes Podcast. We are now participating in Buy Me a Coffee. So if you haven't heard, buymeacoffee.com is a place where you can show some support and some love monetarily to some of your favorite content creators. That includes me. So it's in the increments of either $1, $3, or $5, and you can do as many as you would like. So I just wanted to let you guys know, would love some support. So if you would go to buymeacoffee.com/Mocha Minutes, I would greatly appreciate it. It will also be in the show notes. Okay, here we go. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together hooky, the Addams Family. Their house is a museum when people come to see them. They really are a screamin', the Addams Family. Da-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da. Ooh. So put a witch's shawl on, a broomstick you can crawl on. We're gonna play a call on the Addams Family. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together hooky, the Addams Family. Da-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da. Hello and welcome to the Mocha Minutes Podcast. This is Stephanie. Thank you for joining me and hopefully snapping along. I'm sorry. I am showing my big ass age because I remember the black and white show. I remember all the movies. I remember the cartoon.
Yes, but the black and white show was in reruns when we saw it.
I mean, that's true. I mean, we weren't there premiere night, honey.
We weren't there, yeah.
I do remember it, but I really did like the cartoon, by the way. It was kind of cute.
I don't think I ever saw it.
Oh, and I think it didn't last that long.
Right.
Maybe a season or two, but I could say like things like Dinosaurs and Pirates of Dark Water. You're like, what the fuck is that?
I have no idea what those are. I'm also older though, so. You ain't got no Thundercats or
Thundercats, like it lived and breathed in our house, and also Voltron. And it's so funny because I like the newer Voltron more, and I don't know if it's just because the storytelling was better.
Oh really? I haven't started watching the new. I know it's been out for a while. I have missed it.
It's so good. It's a good binge. I will tell you, it is a very good binge because I watched it live and then went back and binged it. I'm like, I love this because they definitely switched around all of the characters. So
I need to watch all that like revamped shit from my childhood. I haven't started watching any of it. He-Man, She-Ra, all that.
So the Kevin Smith He-Man I like. I haven't watched the other He-Man. Mm-hmm. I like the Kevin Smith one, and I like that he stood 10 toes down. I don't give a fuck what y'all say. Tila is my queen. Shut the hell up. It's like, you know what? You're right. But I like She-Ra. I like the revamped one, but I also liked the other one. So, it's like that was one of the ones like I like the new one, but I also like the older one. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if y'all are not familiar with this, I'm kidding. Yes, y'all do know who the fuck that is.
Better recognize.
This is my militantly mixed, blurty bitch. Okay. She's also had a birthday. Maine. I have SirAuntieMane.
METHOD. Maine.
Maine. No. Let me tell you something. I'm like, she has a whole network of shows because that bitch be busy.
I be busy. I stay busy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm bringing the butterscotch back to Mocha Minutes.
Come on, butterscotch. The butterscotch to my Mocha. I have something BlerdcoMIXED, Militantly Mixed by Furious. I want you to bring that back, by the way. I think that you're queer traveling. Queer and far. I'm like,
queer and
Lord.
far.
Yeah. And I'm like, Lord, am I missing anything?
I mean, like I've had other things that I've like turned off. I have turned off by Furious because right now I'm just like not in it. My heart's not there at the moment.
Okay.
I'll get it back. But yeah.
Bring that thing back. Because
I'll bring that thing back. But for right now, yeah. Militantly mixed.
Yeah. We kind of need that. Okay. It's like, I'm sorry. My bisexual folks, y'all need voices that are smart and fun and not head asses. I mean, that's for me.
I think that's the problem is that like some of the people I was connecting with were just like wearing me down before we even got into the record mode. And so I was just like, it's just a problem I haven't had on the other shows. Like I haven't gotten, after 3 years on and off, I haven't gotten my groove with that show. And I think that's because I don't have a queer community. I have random queer friends that are disconnected from each other. But like Militantly Mixed, I have a mixed community. BlerdcoMIXED, I got a black nerd and cosplay community, you know, queer and far. It's me and my friend. So yeah, you know, and we haven't gotten our stride yet either. We're building something with it. But yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about queer and far, because I'm like, ooh, a travel show. So are you giving tips on how to travel, or are you talking about just your travels?
It's a mixed bag right now because two things are happening. So I started this show with my friend Shay, who I've known for 25, 26 years at this point. We went to college together. She is what I refer to as my emotional support white woman. She's pretty much like the only white woman friend that I can say I absolutely trust. And
I know
work.
For you that's far and few between, because you're like me. It's like, girl, we can have drinks or something, but no, I'm not.
Like I have my white coworker friends or former coworker friends, or I have you know people that were like maybe better friends when I was younger, but now that I have learned to take care of myself better, you know, they stay on Facebook kind of thing. But Shay has been the white woman who I watch go from. She'll say, you know, like, and I'm talking about 25 years in the past, say something a little bit wild, and I'll be like, hey, no. Oh, no, no, you know, and then she'll, okay, let me go work on it. So, I mean, it took some time, but like in about halfway, we lost track of each other for about 10 years, and then we found each other again. And in that time, she had started doing a lot of anti-racism work and like literally taking classes, reading books, going to workshops,
real classes,
like active anti-racism work. And she, you know, she would hit me up with things like, oh, I'm so mad about blah, 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 blah. And I got to a point where I'd hit her with like, I can't do that for you. Like, I can't be the person that you put things on. I need you to do work. You can tell me about it after, but don't hit me while you're upset, because your upset and my upset are two different things. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And so she would take like early, and this is about, I don't know, 12 years ago, 10 years ago and stuff like that. And she would be like, oh, okay, got it. Noted. Let me go away. So now what she's become is the friend that if she is upset about something, she'll hit me up and say, do you have the spoons to talk about something tough, you know, or whatever. Yeah. And so then, you know, I'll say, okay, like, well, hit me with the topic first, because that might determine if I'm okay. Right. And then after that, like she might say, is this an okay time for blurting? And then I'll go do research, or is this, or, you know, I've done some research. Can I bounce some stuff that I've learned off of you just to see if I'm getting it? Like, so that's where we're at in our friendship over the last, like, I want to say about the last 4 years. That's where it's been. And so legit, she's like, I can say without feeling bad about any white friends that might still follow me around, you know, to say that like, you don't do the work that Shay does. Shay does the work. And Shay will stay in an uncomfortable situation. She'll live in it and say like, yeah, this sucks. I hate that, you know, as a white person, blah, 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 blah. But guess what? It's not as bad of what I'm feeling in discomfort as what, you know, Black and brown people are experiencing out in the world. And so she'll stay in it. And seeing what I've seen in her, she's the only person that I can say as a white person that specifically a white woman, because I think that's important to say, that I feel
specifically.
Yeah, very specific. So emotional support white woman. She's also one of those people that like have supported me in random ways for many years, financial included sometimes, like not with me asking, but legit, like I'll just get a hit in my Venmo and she'll be like, thinking of you, want you to have a nice dinner. And it'd be like $60 or something like that, just randomly.
Oh,
She's because she comes from privilege and she knows that she does and stuff. And so sometimes when she gives money, she's giving money with like reparations in mind. And I'm not the only friend that this happens to, but like other people too. And sometimes she does it in a way of just like, she's a fan of the stuff I do. She's proud of watching what I've become since we've known each other when we were 20, that she wants to support it and stuff. And so with this happening over the last couple of years, she's been an avid supporter of Militantly Mixed, avid supporter of all the other stuff I do. She'll like buy a whole bunch of stickers and then smack them all over the city. You know, like she's out there. She's like street team, you know. She's wearing a Militantly Mixed t-shirt and she's not mixed, you know, stuff like that. She's been out there, you know, doing the work and stuff. And so we get to talking about wanting to move abroad about like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, I've been wanting to do this my whole life. She's like, I'm actively researching for it. Like she was going to buy basically a compound of land somewhere and like just, you know, put houses on it and be like, if anybody needs a place to stay, they can come be at this place. Like that was her dream like 5 years ago. More anti-racism work, more anti-colonization work, more decolonization work. She's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. But what I am gonna do,
like, girl, please do not go gentrify some Polynesian
so she's like, so
island
now
so
what
I
I'm
can
gonna
go like,
do
girl,
is like,
I don't know you.
Yeah. So now she still wants to move abroad. I want to move abroad too. But she wants to be very thoughtful about how she does it. And I, you know, me as well, because I may be born here in America, but I'm not an American until I leave America. So like we've had very thoughtful conversations over the last 4 or 5 years about like, how do we do this and not cause more problems than, you know, not bring more problems than we're trying to leave. Right. And in that process, because I became a podcaster during that time, I told her, I was like, you know, I want to chart, now that we're serious about actively trying to do this, I want to chart this journey through podcast because that's what I do. And so she's like, all right, I'll pay for your podcast. Cause she's like, I believe in this. I want to pay for it. And I was like, I would rather not be the only person. Like you and I are doing this together. You're doing more of the research. I'm doing more of the traveling. Like, why don't we pair up? And then she's like, yeah, but you're like Militantly Mixed and you're BlerdcoMIXED. She's like, you're not going to drag this like pasty ass white girl, you know, with you on this thing. And I was like, I go, yeah, I'm not going to grab some random pasty ass white girl to do something like this with me. But for the person who's literally paying sometimes for my trips or you know, researching for me, how do I move with my cats? How do I do that? You know, like she has this spreadsheet of all this stuff that we're getting what we need to do to prepare ourselves for this move abroad. Like, why would I just regurgitate that stuff? Why wouldn't you be a part of that thing? So the show is a mix between research that either of us are doing about like what the process is to leave the country and to do so in a thoughtful, decolonized type of way. That's part of the show. Another part of the show is, because I do travel, is to talk about traveling as a mixed queer femme, you know, so our focus is traveling from being from a marginalized perspective. And while she notes that her whiteness is not her marginalization, occasionally her womanness is, and occasionally her queerness is, you know, so like depending on what spaces she occupies, because she can exist similar to me in assumed straightness, you know, because people tend to assume straight until otherwise told. We're both poly, but we both have male primary partners, you know, stuff like that. So there's ways in which she's not always marginalized in a space, but sometimes she is. And so that's her perspective. And but she's also going in a direction towards a disability that is going to degenerate her over time. So we're focusing on traveling while disabled, traveling while Black and brown, traveling while femme, traveling while queer, solo traveling, you know, things like that, things that would put us in disadvantages in different places. And where a lot of the travel reviews has to do with, you know, did I notice that there was wheelchair accessibility? Was there, you was it safe for a queer person to be in there? Can I wear, like, sometimes I'll actively just wear like a shirt that announces I'm a queer person just to see, what's going to happen when I'm in that space, or, things like that, things that'll note me as a queer person, or whatever. I already know that I can't turn off that I'm a clearly not white person and stuff, things like that. So it's kind of a mix. Like, I think we'll get into a flow that'll be a little bit more formula over time. But for now, it's like, this week we're talking about my trip to such and such. And next week we're talking about, is there wheelchair accessibility at, blah, 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 so it kind of depends. We did an episode on traveling for a quadriplegic, that person that was a TikTok content creator. And so she was teaching us about things about what to keep your eye out for when traveling, because I'm traveling as the non-disabled person. I'm traveling, scoping stuff out for when I do travel to that same place with my friend whose disability is going to become more physical over time, so I don't always know what to look for. But like, we're talking to people and we're learning what do I look for when I'm scoping something out, so that I know it's going to be safe when I bring my friend with me, things like that.
That is awesome.
I think it's going to be meaningful.
I hope so, because I think when you think about that kind of thing, where people are actually like, let me do the work so that you're not surprised when you get here. Because I think that's the problem, because people have like word of mouth about traveling, especially like abroad. You'll hear word of mouth. I'm like, oh, I had a great time in this place. And then people are like, yeah, it wasn't great for me because I have X. It's like, they're not addressing all the intersections. And it's like, disability, race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexuality, like that stuff intersects. And it's like, I may not look like I'm queer, but I am. And it's like, wait a minute, I have to like do this as if I was someone who was very out and very flamboyant, and people could actually see it. Like, what does this look like for you? Because some people are like, they're flamboyant. It's like, yeah, but what if that literally is just how they are?
Yeah, because there are people that are kind of flamboyant and they're not a queer person, or in my case, like, I have some tells, I guess, but I'm not waving the rainbow flag all the time, because I don't feel comfortable in spaces where there's predominantly white queer people. White queer people do not make safe spaces for Black and brown queer people and stuff. So like, I may be going to an event that's predominantly queer and be not cared for there. So it's the same type of thing. And in terms of the disability, like, one of the things I've had to learn over the past 2-3 months worth of episodes is I was like turning down taking the accessibility hotel rooms, because I was like, I don't want to take them for someone else. So I didn't get a chance to see if it's safe for my friend. And then our guest who was on recently, she goes by the handle Quadzilla. Quadzilla said, no, we need you to take that room, because you are already going with the intention of trying to see if this is going to be a safe place to go. You need to be in that room and look like, is the actual shower safe to roll into, or things like that. Like, she's like, I need you to do that. So that when you give your honest review, you can say, yes, to people who are wheelchair bound, this is safe. To people who have to, is there a chair in the bathtub, or, things like that and stuff. So in doing that, I started to do that. And the things that I'm now noticing without extra effort, like at first it was like, make sure you don't forget to look and see if there's wheelchair access. Make sure you look and see if there's enough chairs every so often so people can rest. Now I don't have to actively think that way, because it's just like immediately I walk into a space and I'm like, not enough chairs, no universal architecture and stuff like that, doesn't universal design and stuff like that. So it's a hodgepodge right now, because there's so much to try to tackle. But and as we get closer and we get tightened up, like, we'll have our moving abroad episodes, our general travel episodes. And then because I do so many Comic Cons, we've laced that into what we do. Is like, I'll review the cons and talk about whether or not it was safe for Black and brown cosplayers. Was it safe for, queer folks? Was there a space for queer folks that was separate? Was there, or separate and safe kind of a thing? Was there disability access? Was there a quiet room for people with anxiety? So there's things like that I'm able to do with the show, because Shay is able to finance it and I'm the one doing like the technical work. And then we both sit there and talk about it. So queer and far, because we are two queer femmes who want to go far, far away.
Yay! I can't wait. So I'm glad you, because I know it's like, I think when you have really great ideas for podcasts. So it's kind of like this one, it seems so simple, but it's not simple because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But the thing about it will be so beneficial. They're like, oh, good. Somebody actually kind of scoped it out so that I'm not going crazy. And it's like, because I know Charmaine, it's not going to just be like, girl, this is just how it was. It's not going to be a Yelp review. It's truly not.
And
it's like she's going to like write. She's going to take notes. She's going to do research.
Taking
she's
notes.
Gonna bring stuff.
I'm trying to be really active in like how I take a video of a space or something like that. And I haven't released, excuse me. Sorry. And I haven't released as many videos yet because I still need the time to kind of edit through a lot of those, but like in being thoughtful and like from the perspective of my height versus the perspective of a person sitting in a wheelchair, you know, like different things like that. I have to be actively thinking of. And in the way that I have learned to trust, I know that Shay will put her body in front of brown people to separate them from white people that are dangerous. I can be the body that is testing a space to make sure that it's safe for, you know, our disabled listeners. And of course, my podcast partner who will eventually need that support, you know. We don't know when, but you know, there's already signs that things are starting to deteriorate, and in the way in which I can relate, just because my knees and my feet, you know, I don't have like, I couldn't walk a marathon or anything like that. I couldn't run a marathon, but I can be physical enough for a while and then tuck her out. And I need to know that when I tuck her out, you know, I might tuck her out later than a person with a physical disability. But when I do tuck her out, that's my way of being able to relate and say, okay, this is how far I got. And there weren't any chairs present. There wasn't wheelchair access. There wasn't an elevator, you know, stuff like that. So
yeah, this is dope. I just love this. But I also love Charmaine, y'all. So y'all know how I feel about her.
We love each other.
Yeah. We love each other. We see each other. So let's start low key. It's like, let's start with something happy before I literally talk about some people who ain't shit.
Yeah, the list is a lot of ain't shit motherfuckers today.
A lot of ain't shit. So let me start off with this. Billy Porter has a star on the Walk of Fame. He looked fan-fucking-tastic. So this is interesting about the Walk of Fame because it's such a big deal. You want, like, especially people that you've loved for a very long time. You're like, oh, they're getting a star. But then you realize they have to pay for their own star. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I could be like very, very saying like, I sound like a belly girl. Like. I don't know how I would feel if somebody I truly enjoy, someone's a mentor, especially if I had the funds. I would just pay for it. But also, I'm not saying that to guilt anybody who's like maybe a Tyler Perry. It's like, do you know how many stars you can buy on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? But I think I didn't know it was a cost until that older Asian actor, Daniel Day Kim, had to raise money for his star. It was like, wait a minute. It's a weird,
it's a weird process. So first of all, somebody has to nominate you. And then the committee goes through all the nominations for that year and they whittle it down to a certain number of people. And then they inform you, hey, you have been nominated for a Walk of Fame star. If you would like to get your Walk of Fame, here is the money. And I think it's like, I don't know what it is now, but there was a period of time it was like $40,000 to get that star. And for a lot of the, you know, like say older actors that aren't working actively anymore, they're finally worthy of their star, but they don't have the funds to do it anymore. There's been a lot of, and if you live in LA, you kind of see the campaigns sometimes too, because they're done in Hollywood circles. And I used to work in the film industry. So like you'd hear like, oh, so-and-so is up for a star. You know, they don't have the funds. There's a charity event. There's a fundraising event for them to be able to get their star if they're not like a Tyler Perry and they can't just be like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Also, I'm wondering, and so it's a picture of him with his husband, and it's like his husband's name is Adam. I'm like, so first of all, his husband's is very handsome. His skin is glowing. I know he's a pale face. I know how my feels, y'all.
Man, I got a reputation on the internet. It's funny too because my husband is he's a half a pale, but he's yeah, it happens. It happens. He's a half a bic. He's a half a bic.
Shout out to Michael. I hope he's doing well.
Oh, half a big Mike. I saw Mike. I got to meet Mike for the first time.
Did you? Yay!
Yeah, in New York. I saw him in New York at New York Comic Con. Yeah.
Yay! Yeah, him and Brandon. We went to go see Knives Out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to see it. And then I think it was Brandon's idea, and I was like, oh, that movie is so good. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this Netflix one though.
I haven't watched the Netflix one, but I like Knives Out, and I let me say I reluctantly like Knives Out because I have a long-standing odd not important beef with Rian Johnson.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to like it, but I like it. So
I was not look. That's the thing. It's like I wasn't expecting to like it, and I don't know why I liked it. But yes, Billy Porter, star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I think very, very proud of it. So.
It's important. Like I hate that that's a thing that they have to raise the money for it and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But given how many years it took for some significant Black and Asian and Latin actors to be able to get stars and presence on those things, like I think it's important to fill that walk with as many of us as possible so that, you know, because I don't know if you've ever been to the Walk of Fame, and for people who have not been to LA, it's not like it is in the movies. It is a trash part of town. And so like you don't want to necessarily walk it, but if you're there and you randomly turn a corner and it's like, oh shit, it's so and so, you know, you do get excited. You do get happy to see their
That's
name.
funny because isn't the cost of a star, it includes like I guess lifetime maintenance of the star. Yeah. So when you hear about like, do you see the shitty part of town it's in? It's like, yeah, I'm like, y'all would think y'all would like decrease the cost. And I feel like y'all
it's weird because like the main drag of Hollywood Boulevard, you know, there's the stars there and they're as clean as they can be, it being in a city street that is heavily populated by homeless people. Right. And then there's all these streets on the opposite, like the parallel or the perpendicular street. So you can turn down a corner and there's still stars and stuff like that. So it's not like one long drag. There's the long drag and then there's the perpendicular roads too.
Okay.
And so, you know, some areas are the least important areas. So like you'll pay more if you're getting on Hollywood Boulevard. You'll pay less if you're getting on one of these other streets. And I don't know if they still do it this way, but they used to kind of group them in like music was kind of like on Hollywood Walk, you can kind of see them random, area. But sometimes you'll see like one area where you'll see music back to back, and there'll be like old people that you haven't heard of any, you know, before or something like that. So it's a mixed bag. It's not glitz and glamour. It's it, you know, it looks better at night than during the day. I'll say that.
Okay. But so when I come to LA, and it's not you know, it's kind of like before I used to be this person that would say if. It's no longer if for me, it's when. So when I come to LA, I know I'm going to go to the Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and I would just say stay on the Hollywood Boulevard part unless you know you're going to something like if you're going to the Murder Museum and you need to turn down, I think it's on Vine or Highland. You know, do that. That's fine. But like there's some random little streets that, you know, unless you're in a group, don't do that.
Oh, okay. So in his speech for the occasion, he said, I'm grateful to have lived long enough to see the day where my queerness is no longer my liability, but now it's my greatest superpower. Yeah. I'm grateful for the healing power of love. I'm grateful that the universe has imbued me with the courage to dare to be audacious enough to stand firmly in my own humanity, no matter how under attack it is now and has always been. You know, I heard a lot of things in my life. You're too Black, you're too gay, too loud, too extra, too flamboyant. Homosexuality is an abomination. You're an abomination. You will never be blessed. And in honor of this World AIDS Day, because he got his star on December 1st, I'm grateful to stand in front of the world as an out loud and proud representation of what being Black, queer, and HIV positive looks like in 2022. He was diagnosed with HIV in 2007, and he just only recently started telling people that. So, mind you, for a lot of people, and I'm included in this, first time I'd seen Billy Porter is Pose. However, if you are someone who's ever seen the First Wives Club, that is the first time you have heard Billy Porter, because there's a scene where he's singing the song Love Will Find a Way. That is him singing. He is on the First Wives Club soundtrack. So you've heard Billy Porter, but you didn't know that was him. But unless you're a theater buff, and you've probably seen him before that.
Yeah, so I think Pose is also the first time I've seen him where I knew his name. I do remember seeing him pop up on Pose and going, "Oh, that's somebody. Why do I know that face?" Because I think he did a couple independent films here and there, and so I think his face has been places where I didn't associate him with who he is. Now, of course, I can't not associate him with who he is because he's Billy Porter now. But yeah, he's the Billy Porter, and I'm excited because knowing, like, in the way that his life mirrored somewhat the character in Pose, you know, being there through the start of the HIV pandemic, the AIDS pandemic, and like that's his story, right? Losing friends constantly, trying to keep it under wraps, trying to be as straight as possible for the sake of jobs and work and things like that. And then now to be able to be just like out and loud and unapologetic, it make, even for an older, you know, a middle-aged queer person like myself too, knowing that I won't necessarily watch this person waste away and die because of their queerness is important to me. And, you know, and I don't deal with nearly the same type of stuff that as a queer person that he has had to deal with, but knowing his existence has come to that place makes a lot of room for a lot of people to follow him, you know?
Yeah.
It's important.
I think it's great to see someone HIV positive thriving, as opposed to, oh my gosh, they're not going to live, and everybody just going, yeah, the only representation of someone who is doing wonderfully with HIV is Magic Johnson.
And and that's the thing, is because like you think, it makes you think that it's only Magic Johnson because he's got Magic Johnson money. But in my real life, in my outside meat space life, I know some people who have been living with HIV for 10, 15, 20 years and are undetectable in that they would get a test and they wouldn't be detectable, right? But they still take their medicines, they still do all the procedures that they have to do. But they're healthy, they're thriving, but the fact of the matter is they'll need to disclose it if they're having, you know, sex with people just in case, like all this kind of stuff. Like it's a reality of their life. But the Magic Johnson thing makes you feel like that's the reason why he's been able to be undetectable. And it sounds so crazy because if we grew up in the 80s, we watched people just drop like flies. And it is actually the fact of the matter that there are people living with HIV that are completely healthy, thriving individuals out in the world. And if we don't get to see them, we're going to keep thinking Magic Johnson is the only one that can, you know?
Right.
So I think that's important. And, you know, Billy Porter's got Billy Porter money now, but I mean, I don't think he's got Magic Johnson money, but he's got Billy Porter money. And, but that's not, it doesn't mean that he can't be affected, you know? So it's important to see him being healthy and living his life in a big way for other people that are out there. And the other thing is, you know, people still getting this shit.
Correct.
Like you still gotta disclose, you still gotta be careful. And just like everybody thinks COVID is gone, people have thought that, you know, you don't catch HIV and AIDS anymore because you don't see it as much in media. And I think you should. Yeah.
It's like, oh, child. It's like, no, it's still here. It's just medicine has got better.
Medicine's got
donations, researchers.
There's a fucking vaccine, you know.
Correct. It's like if you thought like, oh, finally it's a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you associate something like HIV and then you think, and then people who have lived long enough, they were like alive in the 80s and
Mm-hmm.
they go, sometimes it kind of feels bittersweet. It's like, man, I wish this was for X amount of people that I have lost. That's like, oh my goodness. So my mom was an EMT. And so in the 80s, she was an EMT. And that was part of the reason why she really liked Pose. She's like, Stephanie, that's literally how it was. That is how this was.
It felt really realistic for her.
And she's like, it was very realistic for her. Because she's like, we didn't really know. It's like but it's like, because my mom is in her 60s. So she's like, this is how it was. And it's like, that's how much of assholes people were. Because people didn't understand. But then it's like, you're an EMT. So I think there was a couple of scenes where like you looked at how they treated people in hospitals with HIV. Literally wouldn't want to come in rooms to sleep their food on the floor at the door. And it's like, so how are they supposed to get it? Girl, you got to bring it. And they wouldn't. And she's like, no, that's literally how they acted. Having to like, she's like, you won't get the smell out of your nose of having to go pick people up. I said, oh.
Yeah. So my mom had a friend that we would watch him deteriorate, and then somehow he would get better, and then he would deteriorate again and get better and stuff like that. And for many minutes to the point that when it got to be like near 20 years of him living with it, we were just like, how the fuck is he still alive? Because he was always teetering on the brink versus like someone like what Magic Johnson or Billy Porter looks like now, where they're, out there thriving and stuff like that. He always seemed to be on the brink, but there were noticeable things that it stuck with me so much that even in the way that I approached my sexuality was always thinking about him, what I saw, how he smelled, how like just what would happen with him just sitting there, like different experiences. Like it's so stuck in my head that, like I've never been casual about fucking. Like I get that paper before I do anything. Like I'm not gonna meet you and be spontaneous. I'm gonna get that paper. I'm gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions, and even as a poly person, I got my rules and guidelines about how I approach sex with the new people. Because of it, I've broken my rule for somebody one time. Well, not one time, for one person. And luckily nothing happened and stuff like that. But the fear that I lived with while waiting for my tests, after that, like nope, I growing up in the age that I grew up in, around the queer people that I grew up around. No. And to not even see it from the medical perspective, but literally just like sometimes we had to look after him because sometimes he didn't have a place to go, I would never put people out like that. Like the way people, I mean, you can't be surprised because you saw how people treated COVID,
right. And that's the thing for her is like, when it started the pandemic, she's like, this reminds me of that. Because that's how people, it was just like people just dying. It's like you may talk to someone who's like, oh yeah, I've lost, and I had a friend of mine tell me like 30 something people that he lost from COVID in 1 year that he just knew. It wasn't all family, just people that he knew.
People,
like, that's a lot of people when you think about it in a span of a year.
Yeah.
It's like, that is just, yeah, anybody who's like able to like basically who lived through like the AIDS epidemic. I mean, hell, go back further. It's kind of like you live through these kind of things. And it's like, oh, this is like, you don't want history repeating yourself about like, have we learned nothing? And it's like, God damn,
I know we have so many models.
Right. It's like, have we not learned anything? I'm like, girl. Yeah, I can't. See, y'all gonna make me go down this pepperoni pizza hill. But okay. Next story.
Yes.
Next story, low-key.
I remember that one. Okay, no, I know that I always throw you off of your list and you never make it through your list with me, so I'm gonna shut up. Shut up.
It's like I sound like Zach Levi. Zach Levi. I act like I know this man. Very tangential. I feel like for him, it's like if I asked him to be on the show, it'd be like we had 45 minutes. We'd be here for 3 hours because we want to talk.
Yeah.
So next in low-key, this is not low-key because it's more mid-tie, but for right now, a 82-year-old Alabama grandmother says she was told not to cry as after they arrested her for not paying her trash bill. So before you ask, yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
And again, before you ask where, yes, it was the South. So an 82-year-old woman in Alabama was arrested for failing to pay her trash bill. Martha Louise Minefield, a longtime resident of Valley, Alabama, was arrested on Sunday after she failed to make payments for her trash service for the months of June, July, and August. Code enforcement attempted to contact Minefield. They literally spelled her name two different ways in the same article several times and issued a citation in August that advised her to appear in court on September 7th, police said. A warrant for Minefield's arrest was subsequently issued after she failed to appear in court, per officials. Minefield, however, told local news outlet CBS 42 that she was surprised when police officers came to her home on Sunday to arrest her. The singer told the outlet that she had never received any notice to appear in court and that she thought the bill, I'm going to say the amount at the end, had already been paid because her trash pickup was never suspended. I was upset because I didn't know why they would come and arrest me. Minefield told CBS 42 that she asked the officers, how would you feel if they came and arrested your grandmama? After she, and I know she said grandmama just like that, after he placed handcuffs on her and told her not to cry. I'm just happy my grandkids weren't here to see that. That would have upset them. I was so ashamed and it's been bothering me. In the press release, Police Chief Reynolds defended the arrest by saying Minefield was treated with respect. While our officers can use their discretionary judgment on certain matters, the enforcement of an arrest warrant issued by the court and signed by a magistrate is not one of them, Reynolds said in a statement. Ms. Minefield was treated respectfully by our officers in the performance of their duties and was released on a bond as prescribed by the violation. Minefield was released on bond after spending a short amount of time being processed at Valley Police Department, according to the police statement. I was in a little cage-like thing at the police station. I said, y'all put me in this cage. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. Now, the reason why I said I'm going to hold the amount to the end, because you're listening to it, it's like, oh my God. I'm like, they will arrest you if you don't come and pay for your trash pickup. Her bill for 3 months was $77.80. 77, not
And the
700.
amount it's going to cost her because of the arrest and because, posting bond and all that other kind of shit. $77.
Now, we just, it's after election day and we talk about laws. And I have been on this little soapbox and when it comes to laws and how I'm like, do realize that when it comes to laws for Black and brown areas, they will literally say, I have to enforce it. They will find laws to throw our asses in jail. This woman is 82 years old. You issued an arrest warrant for $77. I was like, bitch, I will cash app her $77.
You know what I'm saying?
Now.
Like, there's so many other ways. Like, if you were willing to send the police out, which has a cost, hours, hourly wages, all this other kind of stuff, you could have actually just sent, like, maybe she couldn't get a hold, like, maybe she didn't see the mail, maybe the mail got missing, whatever. You could have actually just sent out a representative. You could do this all over the South. Send out a representative to the old people who probably don't use the internet and just be like, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware that your bill is fucking past due. Are you able to make payment? Can we set you up on a payment plan? Like something that you could go to their door even to do that would cost less and get the job done than it's going to cost taxpayers and her for them to send somebody out to arrest her.
I'm like, you're telling her to come to court for 70. Bitch, I will give her $77. And she was just like, I didn't know it was an issue because y'all didn't suspend my service. Because for a lot of people, she may be of that age that, oh shit, this is a problem because my service stopped. I guess I need to pay this. Y'all didn't do that. So it's like, girl, also it's $77. There has got to be a dollar amount. But
like
again,
the 77 is not going to break the trash company.
Like it really just came off like by principle. And before, like, because as soon as I heard this story, I'm like, because I saw it on, microwave news media, aka Twitter. And the first time I saw it, I went, I know for a fact this woman is Black. I already know. You don't even have to tell me. And as soon as I found it, I'm like, yep, that's what I thought. It's like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, prove me wrong, bitch. Prove me wrong. And usually I'm not proven wrong. That's some BS. I was like, girl, she's 8. What do you think she's going to do? Leave town? It's like, what do you think she's gonna do? Run out on you? Girl, shut up. So I have not seen any
money
updates.
Is made up as far like
Like
the older
I
get, the more I think like we made all this shit up.
We
could have been chilling
currency
in the savannah somewhere. Like
we
could have
been
just
bartering.
been chilling.
We could have been on a bartering system.
But we make this shit up and then punish people. Yes, I can't fucking stand it.
Come on. It's like we just made this completely up.
We made it up. It's not a real thing.
It's not. And this is just awful. Now we're sliding into mid-key. Again, something else awful. So Danny Masterson, for everybody who doesn't remember, he was on that 70s show. They're coming out with that 90s show. I'm on the fence about that. I'm on the fence. Weird? It's kind of like, I'm like, the trailer didn't move me, you know?
No, that didn't work. But also, when you think about it, like that 70s show started in the 90s, and you're thinking of the 70s, even though I was born in the 70s, you're thinking of the 70s as a long time ago. So
and it really is not.
And and like it was only 20 years back. So at the time, but that 90s show, like that was only 20 years ago also. To get to the end of it, that like it's weird. It's weird.
Like, like I'm on the fence about that. In full disclosure, I'm on the fence about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm on the fence
because it involves upset about that.
Right. It's like it's involving the fourth best white Chris in Hollywood.
The fourth best.
He's number 4.
I snorted.
He's in the top 4, and he is damn near 4. Okay, he's the 4th.
I can't
but I will say. He's just troublesome. But I'm not on the fence about the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It looks kind of good. And also, can't believe I'm saying this, the Transformers movie too. I was like,
you know what I'm saying? Because like I was such a big Transformers fan as a kid that I have been excited that this was existing the whole time, even though it's Michael Bay and even though Mark Wahlberg was in one of them and even though Shia LaBeouf was in them. Like I get disappointed every time, but I'm always excited to see the actual Transformers themselves. But this fucking trailer bringing me the fucking Beast Wars, bringing me like I'm so excited. I am so fucking excited.
Time I'm like, fuck you, Transformers, because I don't think they've had a bad trailer. Bad movies, yes. Bad trailers, no.
The trailers have always been great, but this trailer has got me so fucking hyped.
Like, we're getting a new Transformer. How did I not know this? I'm about to call Brandon. How the fuck did you not tell me that we're getting a new Transformers movie? I'm like, I'm so here for this. Super Mario. Yeah.
Did you hear the clip of him saying let's go? Like his let's go. Have you heard that?
I heard that and I was like, bye. Sidebar, these Sonic the Hedgehog movies are not terrible. I kind of like them.
They're all right.
Idris Elba is my sexily British. He is my British crumpet. I love this man. I am, when I tell you, I'm like, y'all making Knuckles British is super odd to me. It's like, but we don't have no voices for them, so I guess it's fine. But
right. It literally doesn't matter.
Like, I shouldn't be upset because it's not like Sonic fucking talks in the damn game.
We didn't have any frame of reference, so it's legit.
No, it's
not
like,
a problem.
Okay. It's like, and the thing about this, I kind of like the movies. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was about. It's like, look, video game movies are like, yes, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I liked Knuckles. Knuckles made me excited.
I was like, I'm gonna say nope. I can't say nothing nasty. I can't say nothing nasty today.
Why can't you say nothing nasty? Did you take it off like for the month or something?
No, I did. See, let me tell y'all.
You give it up for Lent.
Let me tell y'all something. I bet you said for Lent. She's such an ass. Okay, so let me tell y'all something. When literally this person that I'm recording with is the only person that can call me thirsty, and I know for a fact she does not mean it in a negative way.
I completely do it with love. It's my favorite thing.
No, say that nasty shit, bitch. Say the film.
Right? That's what I paid the ticket price for.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here like, Idris Elba, I swear, I would literally, I would sit on his face at least 4 times a day. I'm sorry, are you done on your Zoom call? Okay, great. Let me sit back down. Also, your nemesis, your Chris nemesis. There's a picture going around of him, nice coif, salt and pepper beard. It looks like he was at a Comic-Con.
Right.
And I was like, that man is so fine. Like, what are we doing? He is unplugged. He looks like, seriously, on Saturdays, we would go to the goddamn farmers markets, go out there, go get shit for bone broth and every fucking vegetable and fruit and get.
He would send a servant to the farmers market.
Oh my God, please. Oh my God. You're ruining my sex fantasy, because we go to the farmers market and in the morning and he would be fucking me all afternoon. And then on Sunday, we would drink tea.
I will say that the trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons movies got me excited, and he's in that.
Yeah.
And I have thought of him as a good actor in some things. Like, I thought he was good in the first and second Star Trek movie. I think he's gonna be good in this Dungeons and Dragons. It's just that I know him. I don't know him, but I know the real life version because of working in the film industry. So like there's some people I have either met, worked with, or know people who have worked for them. And, you know, once you hear some stories or once you see them in action, sometimes it's hard to watch them afterwards. And he's one of those that it's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to suspend my knowledge.
I know. But y'all, she does not fuck up my sex fantasies about this man. Chris, I am a pine nut.
I know you are a pine nut. I'm allergic to pine nuts, like legit in real life. So there you go.
That is so funny. You know what? There is, short and dirty version of this, because I'm skipping him because fuck him. Danny Masterson's trial ended in a mistrial because the jury was deadlocked. That does not mean he's innocent, y'all. It's like, fuck you. So
what the shit?
It was like, deadlocked? What the hell is happening here?
And you see how many iterations of the vote that they had, and like when they had to switch out alternates, and so it went from,
because of
mostly
COVID,
male to mostly to half and half women, and like the breakdowns for each vote, bro.
It's like, just say that somebody from that thing that's alleging that they are a religion, but not really, because it's about worshiping alien bones. Just say that they called and said, if you don't do this, we're going to blow up your house. Allegedly.
Yeah, no, that's a fucking, they're a scary institution.
I was like, how? What?
Yeah.
So when y'all are doing that shit about, because apparently that man who likes the Jello pudding and is in the whole jail, he got new people coming forward. So y'all were like,
new people are coming forward now?
5 people, bitch. And they were
Are you serious? I didn't even know.
Small roles on the Cosby Show. So this is all still alleged. It's people, and they're showing people like, oh, these are people who are extras on that show. One woman said she allegedly woke up and he was on top of her. And I say, girl, what? So when y'all were doing that, what about Harvey Weinstein? Baby, the person you should be talking about, what about Danny Masterson?
Yeah.
Because then I'd be like, well, okay, because what the fuck, deadlock? Like, fuck him. So next person, let me, I'm of two minds of this, only because, and this is only because, I don't think this is not what y'all think it is. So back in 2021, Gabrielle Union Wade, wife of Dwayne Wade, stepmother of
you have had
Zaya
beef with the way his name has been spelled forever.
Girl, I had no idea. And every said Dwayne Wade. I'm like, why y'all spelling his name wrong? They're like, that's not how that's how his name is spelled. We didn't misspell shit. I'm like, I was like, okay, Dwayne, but I kind of like him. So when he started standing up for his trans daughter, who was like, and you did not treat her like shit, I'm like, all right, you're Dwayne. No, that's fine. So Dwayne and Dwayne's daughter, Gabrielle's stepdaughter, had seemingly her own nemesis in Boosie Badass.
In a grown fucking man.
It's like, this is a grown man who flat out, and I can't even stress this enough, flat out had a sex worker, SA, his son and nephew.
Yeah.
And
which is the only reason why I know who this person is. I legit do not know why he's famous. I don't know what the thing is that the only thing I know
he
him
made
about
a song
is that
with the beats. He made Wipe Me Down. It's like it's a fun party song, and I'm like, I could look here.
So was he a singer or a like
no, he's a rapper. Okay. He is. How made you say what was he?
Like legit, I don't know how,
like, what?
But
like,
this man has escaped my entire famous? The only reason I know about him is because of the sexual assault that he signed up for his child and his nephew. And then subsequent the complaints about gay people. So I don't know anything about him but this. It drives me crazy that he's
and it's so funny because and I'm not gonna say it sounds bad because it doesn't sound bad, but it's kind of like unfortunate. The only thing I knew about Nipsey Hussle is about the his Instagram post and his interview on the Breakfast Club. I didn't know he was a rapper that regionally people really go up for, and they still do.
Don't trip, because I'm from LA and I didn't know about him until he was killed.
Yikes. See,
I don't know how.
I don't just say yikes, but it's just kind of like
I kept my life small for the last 10 years.
That makes me think about the fact that it's kind of like when you think about people who do good or do stuff for the betterment of our people, please know they're probably going to be at least a little bit problematic. Not either a lot or a little. And his stance,
all of us have a stance at minimum that is problematic.
Correct.
For sure.
Correct. So it's kind of like,
I'll be honest, like, I stay in my era's of music, so I don't listen to that many people outside of my era anymore, and that's why I miss Nipsey. But
because it's like I didn't know, but Boosie, also I'm somebody who I don't listen to like a lot of rap music, and if I listen to the newer ones, it's literally the women.
It's all the women.
I listen to the rap girls.
100%. Yeah, I listen to the women now. I couldn't tell you any new men really. I didn't know who the guy was that shot Megan until after. But I've still never heard anything that he's done. And the bad
part about it is a lot of people who are like, I got to stick up for him. Tell me 5 Tory Lanez songs quickly. Give me 5. You probably couldn't name 2. I can't name 1.
I can't name 1. Yeah.
And it's like, but if you're a fan, I'm like, sorry to this man. I am so sorry.
I'm not. She shot Megan.
I'm so sorry that I don't know your man, and he's probably regionally famous, but he did not have the impact of a Nipsey.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm just saying. And it's like, go ahead.
Yeah. The thing is, after he died, I realized, oh, that's a Nipsey thing. Oh, that's a Nipsey thing. Like there was stuff like that happened.
People have like the marathon flag in their bio, like the marathon continues.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like I didn't realize.
I don't get the reference because I don't listen to the hippity hops, but I also
the hippity hops. I listen. I'll be honest. In terms of new music, where rap is concerned, I listen to Japanese rap and French rap. So I don't know what to tell y'all.
You know what? French rap probably is sexy as hell.
It can be.
Okay, so the old interview clip, and it was on TikTok. TikTok is the place that will unearth things from like 5 years ago. Like, girl, where the hell have you been? Seriously, where the hell have you been? So I think Gabrielle was asked about, the whole thing, because literally I feel like Boosie is like the North remembers. Fuck y'all, I'm gonna keep talking about this because it's my business. I'm like, girl, it truly is. He was
the one that got booted off of Instagram and kept asking for
he wanted Mark Zuckerberg.
That's right. That's him.
Sir, you're asking for women to literally show their pussy on Instagram. Instagram, not OnlyFans, not like your own like little place of worship.
Not behind a paywall.
Not behind a paywall. You are literally asking people to do this on Instagram. And I'm like, sir, don't you have a home? Aren't you a rapper? Can't you go get some pussy? Like, I don't understand. It's like, can you leave us alone, please? And I mean this. Please go to hell. So she did an interview in 2021, and the clip has come out saying you're a little too invested in, dick, which, okay, girl. So, because she was she was speaking with Jemele Hill, and I'm sitting here like, y'all, I get it.
I get it.
It's like the way she said it. He's so preoccupied. It's almost like thou protesteth too much, little Boos. you got a lot of dick on your mind. Let's throw that out there.
And I get it, but I hate this move.
Right, because when she said it's like Zaya Little Nas X lived in his head rent free, sir, is there something you want to go ahead and tell us? This is a safe space. We can be your sanctuary.
It's disappointing because it's still saying to the world at large that there is something off about being gay. And that's why it can be so funny. It's the same. It happens in politics a lot too, where like, Leslie Graham talks too hard about, being anti-gay, and he's got that little effeminacy going on. So he must be gay. Like, yeah, he might be, but that's not for us to be.
Yeah, it's really,
and it's not the
truly
reason that they need to be out there talking about it so much, like, I mean, I guess you could make an argument that everybody does a version of this. Like, I mean, you hear how often I talk about not being interested in the pale faces, and yet I'm a half of one technically. I just didn't grow up with any of them, so I don't know that. I don't know. I don't have that existence. So like, you can make an argument that like anything that bothers you about yourself is the thing you talk about. Like that is, I get it.
You get it.
I don't like the move, especially when it comes to gay people, because it's still saying that there's something wrong about being queer, and it's a joke. It's still a joke.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, it's like you're doing this because you are. I'm like, or he could be just a hateful asshole. So because he could just be he responded. So
yeah.
He has asked Union to leave him alone. He did in a lengthy Twitter rant. How dare you challenge a ghetto hero's manhood? You wrong, SMH. I don't have time for girl. I don't know what ghetto hero. What ghetto?
Himself a ghetto hero.
I want to know what ghetto he's talking about, right? You wrong, SMH. I don't have time for this. I'm trying to have peace in my life and stay alive. He then also went on to allege that Union's husband, Dwayne, I'm sorry, I'm going to call him Dwayne, but I like him, loves dick, adding, hope you don't think black couples look at y'all like a power couple. They don't. Go bang him with that dildo and wait on a script, you little white girl. This is why I'm like, yeah, fuck him for that. You know what? It's like, girl, two wrongs don't make it right. And I'm just saying, like, who's worse? Him. And I'm kind of like, you go, at first it's like, how dare you? It's like,
first of all, if Gabrielle straps up Dwayne, who the fuck cares?
Also, that don't make him gay.
But also, I wouldn't mind. But who the fuck cares? If that's what people do in their bedroom.
I have a pegging list because I have.
It's weird because I don't and I do. Like it's not a thing for me. Like, oh, pegging, or whatever. That being
it's
said,
not like you just go, but it's like, you ever seen a man?
There's like an energy associated that I'm down for. And it's weird because between your show and Old Man Wade's show, I'm on record about being pro pegging in a way that I didn't realize about that in my real life. It's just like I said something and I'm like, oh, I do kind of think that. So it's not like it's a thing.
If it's like your size, you're swear by. I'm like, no tea, no shade. Oh, like this is completely honest. I would love to peg Jason Momoa. One, because I would want to peg his hair.
He seems gully though. He seems like he'd be gully for it.
I'm just saying.
Here's the
thing. I would like to be with somebody who's like beautiful and also seem like, I'm sorry, I would want to peg someone with long hair. That's how I feel.
I see. Okay. In my case, my whole deal is like, I like people who are enthusiastic about healthy consensual sex being wild. Like they can be as wild as they want to be or as tame as they want to be, but everybody's on board for it. Like I am more impressed by a heterosexual male who is comfortable with ass play, pegging, rimming, whatever. I have more respect for that
I refuse to
type
eat ass,
of person than a person that would be like, no, never. Unless they were traumatized by it, and like if they were traumatized by something, I'm like, I get it. Okay, fine. I have my traumas too. I understand why you wouldn't want to do it. But if you're just like a regular straight person, straight dude, and you've never had anything, like non-consensual happen and all that kind of stuff, and you're just like, I like sex. I like to be pleasured. I like to pleasure. So I'll take a strap.
Right,
I have full
I know
and
there's a
complete
spot,
respect for
and if you hit it,
right,
we're off to the races. So
right. So I
don't
like
make you gay. They don't make you buy either. So.
It don't make you it doesn't make you anything. It's legit just sex. Like it's just
it really is. I
so
don't know how
if
we
they
got
do
here
that,
talking about
that would be
this
fine. Well, because of what he said. If they did that, it would be fine. As it would be to me, it would be no shade to Dwayne. It would be just like, that's a dope ass couple. And I'm already on board for them, right? Like they're hella cute together. They got the whole thing with the sassy little baby girl who don't seem to have any time for Gabriella. She's hilarious.
And Shady Baby is becoming a shady little girl, and she's so cute.
She's so funny.
And it's every time I see Zaya, I'm just like, this is what she was supposed to be. And you just go like, this is what she's supposed to be. And like, people are being so weird about her. And it's like,
how can you look at a father supporting their child and you're
actual
like,
unconditional
that makes
love.
You soft.
It's like, this is how I know y'all think your kids are property and y'all don't know what unconditional love is. It's like, would this be his choice? No. But it's not his life. It's not his choice. The only thing that she asked him to do is literally don't get in my way. And instead of just not getting in her way, he's like, no, I'm going to help you.
I'm going to cheerlead. Yeah.
I'm going to cheer you. I'm going to give you what you need. And for me, I noticed how quiet the mother was, like, because she's not on board with this.
Well,
and sure enough,
show never came out. Yeah.
I'm like, I kind of knew that already because you had been so quiet.
I'd been wondering that. I was like, what's up with the mother? Like, and then I just kind of
because I was like, she's probably quiet because, and I think people were trying to say it's because of custody. I'm like, that don't mean anything because there's a lot of like single fathers who they're not the custodial parent and they still in their kids' lives. So that's
not what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's like no, she's not on board with this.
She's not on board with
this. Is how I can tell.
And but, at least they have the privilege in their financial situation to take care of what what needs to be done to keep her safe. It's unfortunate, whatever is the deal with the mother and all that other kind of stuff or whatever. But all I'm saying, because
you would think you would want both of your parents there.
Yeah.
Especially when they're both physically here.
When they're both, yeah, right. And for me, all I see is a family that is in support of a child. And it doesn't matter to me that mother is not her biological mother, but she is her mother,
right. To just be in her corner. And it's like, I don't think she's like pro Zyway just because she's married to Dwayne. I feel like that's just how she would be.
Yeah.
Because in some ways, Gabrielle Union has grown the fuck up. Because literally everybody heard the whispers about Gabrielle Union. Was she like spicy talking to Jamel Hill? Yeah. It's like, is it problematic, her statement? Yeah. It's towards Boosie. I'll allow it. Next case.
It is kind of that. Like, it is kind of that.
It's who it is. I'm like, they're like, why are you just going to let it be okay? I'm like, because this person literally has been talking cash money shit. When Dwayne Wade looked like he will punch a bitch in his face. I feel like
that's the other part, right? Like
in person, he will beat this man's ass. He's on site, and I don't blame him. It's like, you mean to tell me if somebody's cash money shit can't keep my fucking kid out his mouth, and I see his ass? Oh baby, we gonna tussle.
You're a grown man. Here. What are you doing spending any amount of time talking about another man's child?
40. Please go to this like imaginary ghetto where you're the hero and put your cape on and
go
there.
Be a hero and leave this child the fuck alone. Yeah.
What ghetto are you what?
It's so ridiculous.
I'm sorry. Does ghetto mean something different? Maybe
people need to be famous so
maybe
bad.
It's black slang. I'm black. Maybe it's black slang that I don't know what it is. Maybe it means something else. Maybe ghetto maybe ghetto means house. In my house, I'm a hero. I mean, I feel like you should be.
I don't know where he's from or anything like that. I don't know if like he reps a set or some shit. Like, I don't know any of that kind of stuff where that person is concerned.
It's like, girl, it's like wherever you go, just go there. It's like, is it problematic? Yes, I'll allow it. Next case.
Yeah.
Now let's hit high key. Okay. So Wednesday, today actually is not Wednesday, y'all. But the show Wednesday, I heard rumblings of it. I did not watch like the Sabrina show. I should go watch it now because it's available. And
I watched some of it, but I couldn't get into the whole thing.
Okay, because I heard mixed things about when about I'm saying Clarissa. Now I kind of want a Clarissa Explains It All reboot. But the Sabrina is like people who liked it, loved it, but then I didn't hear, I don't know, maybe it was just the way I was listening to it. So Wednesday I was like, oh, okay. So for Thanksgiving, because that's the day, I think it came out like the Wednesday before.
It came out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like I was cooking, Thanksgiving's my cooking Super Bowl. I actually like to cook. And I actually got to cook at my mom's house. So it was on. I turned it on. I'm like, this show is fucking good. Like, I can't believe this. Because I was like, when you thought about like, how y'all gonna do a show just about Wednesdays? Like, she's part of the Addams family. And now it's kind of like, I didn't kind of really notice that they weren't really there. But
as a character, whole, she's the one that could stand on her own, I think.
That's very true. Because it's like Pugsley is like, girl, I guess. Uncle Fester. Yeah.
Fester, you could have Fester adventures, but not necessarily with Fred Armisen.
Yeah. His Fester is a very interesting casting choice.
And I like their relationship, but he's not the guy I would have chosen necessarily.
Yeah, he's no Christopher Lloyd.
Right. He's not as bad a casting choice as Catherine Zeta-Jones, but
the casting is very, as the Addams family, like, I mean, thing is like, it's just a hand. So it's like, girl, what the hell? But it's kind of like the choices of even Gomez. I know a lot of people looking at it like, I'm like, everybody's not fine ass Raul Julia, okay? But also I feel like,
like if you're gonna try to compete with Raul Julia and Angelica Houston, you're gonna not win.
It's not gonna happen. I actually like Louise Guzman as Gomez. I thought it was like, because one is like, guys, Gomez is not like, he is Raul Julia. God damn it. Yeah. It's like Gomez is not so this tall, suave, sexy man. It's like, no, he's not.
He's always shorter than Morticia and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't need to be, he's a short king. He's a short king. He is. So it's kind of the thing we need to care about is, does he love his wife passionately? That's the only thing we need to see.
And it's kind of like, it did come off like, I would literally bleed myself for you. Yeah. I'm like, girl, what the hell is this? I like them. Catherine is a very interesting, she was a very interesting casting for me, only because I feel like in this, it seemed very much brown Latina Dodge. And then there's Catherine Zeta-Jones.
And like, I know that everybody thinks she's a Latina. She is Welsh, people. She is a full ass Welsh white woman. She's from Wales.
A white Spaniard, okay?
She's not a white Spaniard. She's not a Latina. She is from Wales, and Wales is attached to England, the island. They are white people.
That's what I'm saying, because it's like, you look at Louise, you look at Jenna Ortega, and you're kind of like,
and Pugsley. I don't know what Pugsley is, but he's brown too.
And Pugsley, and then there's Fred Armisen, which it still kind of flows in the same vein.
Yeah, Fred Armisen is Venezuelan.
Correct. So it's kind of like, I feel like there should have been more brown Latinidad, but it kind of
like, were they just looking for a woman with black hair
tall
that's taller than Gomez? Because like, you could slap that same wig on any woman that's pale skinned, like you could have done that. Correct. Now, if we're going to go full Latina then I would have said, like, give me a Salma Hayek and Luis Guzman, and that shit would have killed.
Are you kidding me? Like, her shape, ridiculous. And
that's the thing is, Morticia is sexy just standing there. That's her.
And she has a nice walk, because it's like Angelica Houston. Yes. Boots down. Loved Angelica Houston in the movies as Morticia. She had the look. She had the eyes. It's kind of like, no, I'm fine with this. So it's kind of like, and what we've seen in Morticia, it has been white women just doing it, or at least white women to our eyes. So when you're looking at this family, it's like, I thought we were going to get more at Brett. Oh, okay, I guess.
It's funny too, because Catherine doesn't hide from the being cast as a Latina. She doesn't shy away from it at all.
She does not.
That's her. That's the lane she found. Yeah.
This is why I kind of like her, as opposed to people who are brown Latinas and then talking about, I got put on these black roles and I didn't like it. Well, bitch, you should have sat your ass over there and let them cast the black women. And let them cast the black women. It's like, baby, and I like Gina Torres, but I swear, I'm like, I need you to be Gina Torres and not Gina Rodriguez. Because you and her, why all these all these Latinas named Gina get on my goddamn nerves now? I'm like, Gina,
I'm
shut
trying to figure out which
up.
one's Gina Torres. I know which one Gina Rodriguez is.
Gina Rodriguez is a Afro Latina who, like, they had a round table and she was talking about the difficulty.
Yes.
Like, I was typecast as a Black woman. And so she was in these Black roles and she was like, no one would cast me in like Latina roles. And the thing about it is, I'm like, do you imagine how many Black women
that's the
one
that's who I'm picturing, but for some reason I was thinking somebody else for a second.
Yeah. So I'm like, why is it that every like first is Gina Rodriguez, who had a lot of smoke for Black Panther 1, but ain't said shit about Wakanda forever. I'm like, let me tell you something.
She's been a problem though. She's been a problem from jump.
She say some problematic shit. I'm like, girl, you ain't saying nothing about how we are literally lusting after. We trying to be sister wives of Agua Papi, okay? I'm like, who the fuck is this man? Seriously, who the fuck is he? And he's like, oh my God, y'all love me?
You really have to start looking at his actual interviews in Mexico, like in the Spanish language ones, because he's naughty.
Oh my God, I love it.
In Mexico, he's naughty. Here, he's all like, Disney is paying my bills and stuff like that. But in Mexico, he's wilding. You need to start watching those.
I need to, because I think people are like trying to show him thirst. They said thirst tweets, and it was literally the like most. I'm like, girl, I've said worse, and I don't try to be out there because y'all be in my fucking business when I be saying shit. And it's like someone just said you're cute. He's like, oh, and he had his tongue out. I'm like, this man looked like he would literally like go run around the block because I want to eat your puss. But I want some seasoning on my food. I'm like, he gives off that kind of energy.
He naughty.
And you wouldn't be like, it's like, this man looked like, I would literally like choke me. He'd be like, I'm gonna do it slow. He's like, and it's like you watch all of these Black people, Black women, and men lusting after this man who I love. I feel like we have not. I gotta pause high key to talk about Wakanda Forever. How much I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna cry at this movie. I had shut down my tear ducts.
Oh, please.
I'm like, it's cut down for the rest of the year. I come home and listen to Rihanna's song from the soundtrack, and I'm sitting here bawling in a ball of emotion, like, oh my God, oh my God, Chadwick Boseman's not here. What are we doing? But the way that they handled it was probably the most beautiful thing. Because you remember like the talks about what we're going to do. It's like they would either be damned if you do and damned if you don't.
I don't think he would have gotten 100% buy-in.
Like, I feel like even though I like Aldous Hodge, yes, I do. I feel like y'all put him in this role. They're like, he ain't no Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick not here, and that's not even close to fail.
So
it's like, what do y'all want him to do?
If I would have fan casted a replacement, which we talked about on Blerd Comics, for me, it was going to be John David Washington.
Oh my God, yes.
He's it for me. Like if you're going to give us T'Challa, Black Panther in a different universe, because they have said we're not going to do it in the 616, give me John David Washington version.
Okay.
But I like what they're doing. I have changed my mind. Like in beginning when the mourning period was still really strong, where like for day I've never mourned someone I don't know harder than Chadwick. But when I was still in that, I was like, no, you can't replace him, and it's too emotional. We needed him, and blah blah blah. It took me a while to get to the part where it's like, actually the symbolic aspect of T'Challa is more important necessarily, and I think Chadwick would have probably wanted him to continue on as well. So after that, but Marvel had already made their statement. They had already started working on the script and stuff like that. So handling it how they handled it, I do agree with you. Like it was like the best way I think that they could have handled it, given certain parameters. One, how do you deal with an off-camera death? Two, how do you deal with Marvel saying they're not going to recast him, and then you don't want them to renege on that necessarily? Not going to recast him in the 616. And then three, I think it was way more impactful and beautiful to allow us to watch all of those actors grieve on camera, even though they're grieving in their character roles. Like, I think we needed to see them mourn too, the way like we were feeling, the way they were feeling. Given those parameters, I think they did exactly the best thing that they could have done.
It was so beautiful, and it was like literally not what I expected, because it really was handled in such a beautiful way where it wasn't like, that wasn't the heavy overshadowing of the movie, like where this movie is a whole memorial to Chadwick Boseman. It's a whole memorial to T'Challa. It literally is like to see the different parts of grief as someone who is grieving. It's like, baby, this is very real. I was like, well, sure, he said, I would burn this world to the ground. I'm like, yeah, I can understand that. And to understand Queen Ramonda, it's like, no, I can understand that too. And as much as I love Okoye, and I'm like, girl, I get it. You bleed for that. Because I had not watched after he passed, because the only other person that I grieved really hard, somebody I don't even know, a famous person, was Whitney Houston, because I grew up on her music. She, like, when she passed, like a radio station here was playing her music. By the third song, I was in my bedroom bawling. I'm like, really? We are never going to have another voice like this ever. I'm like, y'all gonna leave Whitney, y'all gonna leave Nippy alone. Literally leave my bitch from Jersey alone. First of all, a bitch from Jersey should beat your ass. Okay. It's like, leave the memory of Whitney alone. It's like, there's never going to be another Whitney Houston. Yeah. Ever. So it's like, to watch how they just, because one, this is why I'm so glad, and I still like her as a director. I'm so glad, only because he's been really good with this, that Ava DuVernay said no to Black Panther and said, I can't do it. Let Ryan do it. And it was like, huh. And it's like, huh. And I'm so glad she said that. And it's not because, and the thing about it is, like, you do a big budget Marvel movie, they gave this man a blank check to bring Black Panther to the film. And a lot of people would not step aside to do that. They're like, no, are you kidding me? This is MCU, baby. It's going to launch me. Yeah. And she was like, no, let him do it. I don't have time, or I don't think I'm the best person to do it. And to watch Ryan, who seemingly is just literally like a nigga from Oakland making movies. That's just how he acts. And the way he said it is like, we just want to do something good because he didn't tell us, and that's okay. And it's like, imagine if he had told everybody, we all knew that. And they're like, you don't think you want to recast somebody? Because I mean, he going through chemo, girl. He can't be keeping up with that. Right. He was doing all of this and still filmed Black Panther, and nobody didn't know. And it's like, that says a lot. Because the thing about it is, it's like, it would be a hindrance of him, because everybody's like, oh, you think you can't do it. That's probably what happened to Bruce Willis too. How long was he dealing with this before he said, they're like, oh, we're going to have to do something because he can't do nothing now. Like, how long was he
Bruce Willis?
Bruce Willis. Something happened, like he has like some kind of debilitating disease.
Oh, does he?
So he had to retire from acting.
I saw that he retired, but I didn't realize it was because he was sick.
And it was just like, how long has he been dealing with this? And it's like Chris Hemsworth is saying he has some kind of genetic trait where after a while, he's
both sides of his family has Alzheimer's. Yeah, so he has
doing something preemptive, and it's like, what if he just say, I can't do this anymore? He's like, let me take a break after this, spend some time with family before I forget them. It's like, that's what I heard, and I'm like, because it's just in my brain. It's not, y'all, that's not exactly what he said, but that's all I heard.
No, right. Like, that's the vibe. Yeah, because he basically has a genetic marker on both sides of his family, so he hits both of them. Where it's not saying you have Alzheimer's right now. It's saying you, more than any other person on the planet, has a likelihood of getting it. Yeah, you're predisposed. So he's like, I rather give my family me now before who knows, because it doesn't happen at any time. But he keeps himself healthy and stuff like that. I think the way they handled this is my love letter to Ryan. I think in this moment is that in the Marvel universe, in the comic books, cancer is the only thing people don't come back from. Yeah, like, characters die, characters get murdered, and they usually come back alive even in the same continuity. So it's not like sometimes it's a reboot of continuity, but usually it's like in the same continuity that they died in, they come back to life in. But the only characters that don't come back to life died of cancer. The first Captain Marvel, the actual Kree man character, is an example of that. He died of cancer, and they had this huge universal of funeral for him in the comics, where like even his enemies came to the funeral because they had such respect for him as a warrior. And so like in the book itself, it was like the way that they paid respect to him as a character, you know, because they had him died of cancer. They've never given us that guy again. It's always been Carol Danvers or Monica Rambeau. Like there's other Captain Marvel, like they didn't redo him. There's other characters that is the case for too. What Ryan did to me told me how much of a comic book fan he was. Like that was a moment for the comic book fan geek too, is that Chadwick himself died of cancer. We know we can't recast, or we've decided as a collective, we're not recasting Chadwick as T'Challa, or we're not recasting someone else's Chadwick's T'Challa in the MCU. It doesn't mean we can't have other T'Challas in different universes, but we can't have a 616 one. So what we're going to do is do what we do in the comics, which is he died this way in real life, but we're going to have him die this way on camera, you know, in the story too. So now we don't have to sit here and wait for him to come back. It's shutting the door to recasting Chadwick's T'Challa, which I thought was a very thoughtful way of handling the explanation as to why we're not going to get T'Challa again. Now, of course, spoiler, yes, we're going to get T'Challa in the future, but it's going to be T'Challa Jr., you know, kind of a thing. So I like the way that they did that. Purely as a comic book fan, I like how they handled it. But I think it would have been weird for them to do anything else with Chadwick's T'Challa that wasn't this. That wasn't. It makes sense to me that they would give him part of Chadwick in his story, right? Chadwick kept it a secret from everybody. And you know what? I really believe that the reason why he kept it a secret is he didn't want to change the experience of the movies, of the experience for the actors themselves, like the people that he's grown to love and have family with. I don't think he wanted us to be preparing for his death. He didn't want us to look at him as dead before he died. You know what I'm saying? I think he was giving us a chance to just like experience him. And also as an Asian person, I'll say this too, from the Japanese part of my culture, like if a person knows they're going to die in Japanese culture, they'll die. There's not a culture of fighting to get out of it. It's just like your die has been cast.
You're just going to let it happen.
Yeah.
Not really fight it.
So when your old people get sick, you don't tell your old people, the doctors will tell the children of that older person, but they won't tell the older person. And then the whole family will get together in conspiracy, like knowing my family, my loved one is going to die. We're not going to tell her she's going to die. And then she's just going to live her life and be happy. And then she's going to die, you know, and she's going to die peacefully, hopefully, you know. Wow. So I think that's kind of what Chadwick did for us as a collective is just like, let us keep loving the experience of what we were having. And even though it was going to be a jarring loss, at least we weren't mourning him before he died, you know.
And not looking at him like,
yeah. And so he could live his life too, you know.
And kind of secluded. So when I think you touched on something where it said the cast got to mourn on camera as the characters in the movie got to mourn. That makes me think about Glee. So for the show Glee, Corey Monteith died. So they basically unalived his character Finn. And that's kind of what they did. They had an episode and Naya Rivera is singing this song and she literally they're like, there was no acting in that. That is literally how she felt. So it's like their characters were mourning and these actors were mourning. So it was kind of like that thing of, you know, the rubber meeting the road. Because for me, even though I didn't know Corey Monteith, I have trouble listening to songs with his voice on it. Like I don't listen to them. Like I'm like, it's just sad. Because it is kind of like that whole episode, the quarterback is just like, it's just sad. So I'm so glad it is so beautifully done, the tribute to T'Challa and to Chadwick, because I mean, it was duality for me. The movie is fantastic. It's like 2.5 hours. Girl, give me 3.5. Fuck y'all.
Right. No, I think they handled it well. I think my what beef I had, I have and don't have with it, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't love brown on black animosity, but in the way in which it was handled, I do like what
the
they
way that
did.
was
You know what I'm
handled.
saying?
It's
So
like, yeah, it's like we're gonna fight the real enemy, but also I might extend your grace even though you killed my mother.
well, to me, what it shows is what happens in like my neighborhood. I grew up in Long Beach, you know, where we had Mexican kids and we had black kids, and the black and Mexican kids were pitted against each other by the police, by the adults in our lives or whatever. And so we were doing the work of white supremacy for them because we were trained to be at each other, right? And then it takes a moment of someone being like, wait. That cop is fucking with both of us. Why are we fighting each other? We should be fighting the cops. That's exactly what happened in this fucking movie. Like, even though no, yes, it didn't, but yes, no, it did. If that makes sense, is like,
no, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, they technically are still enemies because of what Namora and Namora said at the end. Technically, they're still kind of enemies, but there's a purpose that is dropped. But in terms of the relationship that they made in that moment, the pact between Shuri and Namor in that moment is that, like, we don't need to fight the outside forces. We don't need to fight each other. We need to fight the outside forces, and let's do that together, united. So I feel like this. I just think Ryan is so fucking smart. Like, he gave us the end to Chadwick's T'Challa in a way that allowed us to deal with it in real life and deal with it in fantasy life. And he gave us a reflection. And Oakland and Long Beach are very similar in like style and cities and stuff like that. He gave us, growing up in the hood in Oakland, growing up in the hood in Long Beach, like, he gave us these two communities pitted against each other by the powers that be. And then eventually realizing that they needed to work together. Like, he gave us what exists in reality. And I think that is just, it was just real beautiful and really thoughtful. And I'm glad for it. Yeah. That being said, if in the Quantum Mania that's coming, we get a John David Washington Black Panther, like, he don't even need to be T'Challa in another universe. He could just be like that other universe's Black Panther. Because
even in like the other Doctor Strange movie, it was kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing John Krasinski in like a Fantastic Four movie. I'm like, I feel like this, because I have a love and hate of Fantastic Four because of the movies. But seeing John Krasinski, I'm like,
he was the first live action that made sense. Yeah, like,
could actually work. I kind of like him. It's like, okay,
and the thing
so we're doing it. So we're doing it. It's
your
like,
multiverse people can all look alike. We saw how many Doctor Stranges looked alike. We saw how many Lokis looked alike. You know, they can be, but they can also not be, because we literally had a alligator Loki and a bunch of humanoid Lokis. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can have a John David Washington Black Panther or T'Challa
from another
universe and stuff like that.
And it would work. It's like, would work. Yeah, because I'm not comparing it to T'Challa. This is just another kind of like the last Spider-Man, and I have a love and hate. I have a love and hate with that movie too, but I kind of like the difference. But it's no Miles Morales into the Spider-Verse, which,
well, I think what's going to happen is that in the next time we see Spider-Man, I think we're going to start to see the beginning of the end because of some of the plot things that have been placed in like Easter egg form. So I think what we're going to see in the next movie or two that Tom Holland pops up in, he will probably die. Yeah. And which will make the way. So, because we already know that Miles exists in the 616 because we've met his uncle Aaron, which was played by Donald Glover. So we know he exists in the universe. We just need Peter to get a little bit older. And we need Miles to be pretty young. So Miles needs to be a teenager. He needed to not be a teenager when we met Aaron, but he needs to be a teenager the next time we see him. And Peter needs to be a little bit older. And then Peter will die. Miles will rise. So I think in the next 2 times we see Peter, we're going to see that transition start. I think that's what's going to happen.
Dope. I can't wait. This is the end of one phase and we're getting another one.
Yeah.
But we're getting Jonathan Majors. And I know about his choice in partner, and I'm not really disappointed because this is a complete stranger to me.
I actually don't know his choice of partner.
It's a pale-faced lady. So there's that.
Okay. Quick question. I mean, okay.
Mhm.
This is where the question goes of like, why are mixed people always so militant? Okay. I understand. I understand that I needed two people of different races to get together to make me. I get that. I get it. And I like being mixed. I like the two cultures I come from. All of this stuff I understand. That being said, why is it always the revolutionary motherfuckers that end up having a white partner?
Honey, I mean,
Jonathan
have you gone down that rabbit hole of biracial TikTok where there are people who have white mothers and be like,
mixed talk is
mixed talk is like
mixed talk is toxic. You notice that I am not an active participant in mixed talk. I have my podcast.
Like Lord have mercy. It's like, and it's bad when you just go, it's like you can like, let me, yep.
See, like I have my podcast and everything like that. So people know my opinion. I will voice my opinions on things and shit like that. But what I'm not doing is getting on TikTok and doing this, because every time I see it, you don't have enough time to put the context together for people to not come at the problematic stuff. And the fact of the matter is, there are some super problematic ways in which black biracials raised by white moms move. Like the vibes are evident. It's a stereotype for a reason, because it's evident. But yeah, mixed talk is really, really toxic. But my thing is just like a lot of these, like Jonathan Majors plays characters that are part of the revolution, right? Like they're a part of, Lovecraft Country, fucking Five Bloods. Like he does roles, and then he's been I don't know who it was, someone on TikTok or Twitter called him like civil rights era hot.
Yeah.
He's got that civil rights era face or whatever like that. Like he gives off like, last black man in San Francisco, like he gives off a black dude that's fighting the fight. And then he's got a white partner. I get it. I have a half a big partner who grew up white. I understand. I get it. Sometimes you just fall in love with people. I understand.
You'd be like, I hear y'all.
I'm guilty of it too. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm guilty of it too. I'm also a revolutionary black that ended up with a non-black partner. The thing is, his car broke down when we were 21, and then by the time we were 22, we were together. Like that just was what happened. Like funny. His car broke down. We were around each other every single day because his car broke down, and that gave us the door to open for us to fall in love with each other. And that's what happened. We were 22 years old. We're 45 years old. I'm 45 years old now.
Happy birthday,
it happens. It happens. I understand. I know that the words I'm saying don't make sense because I'm also guilty of the same thing. Because everybody else, like I'm poly, and like every other relationship I have is with black folks, and it's not like I'm targeting that. It's just that those are the people I hang out with, so those are people I have access to, and that's how I end up that way. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I know that there's a little bit of hypocrisy in what I'm saying, but it always surprised, like even Donald Glover, like as Childish Gambino, some of his early lyrics, you're just like, and you ended up with a white girl, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I know what I know what I'm saying, but I also know that like I'm probably not the right voice for that. But also,
and that, you know what,
I need to get
it
out.
Okay, so I'm going to table Wednesday, because I think what I'm going to ask of you is that we're just going to do a Wednesday episode.
Oh shit, I forgot. I forgot that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, girl, that's fine, because we're going to skip that, because this is now like we're just going to have a Wednesday episode, y'all. So batten down the hatches. We're just going to have a whole episode to talk about. I'll do.
You want to do a review show with Wednesday? I'll do that with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So y'all, it's coming. So
because I have some feelings that we definitely should get into.
Yeah, because it's like it's a great thing, but please know we see the forest beyond the trees because of who's involved with this thing. You know what? Let me shut up. Last story in high key. So Deion Sanders used to play the sports.
He used to play a couple of the sports balls.
He caught the sports balls. He ran the sports balls in the thing, right? Y'all, I'm a football fan. I don't know what the fuck he did. I just like saying the sports. He also has a gold jacket because he's in the Hall of Fame. Well, Mr. Deion Sanders decided to go become the head coach for Jackson State University, which is at HBCU, which sent a lot of OMG, because there is so much talent in HBCUs for athletics. However, they don't get the shine that they deserve. There are so many. So when you see a person from an HBCU drafted, you're like, y'all went to go see them. They don't have the big pro days. They do have pro days, but it's not advertised the way like a UCLA or University of any of the hell, even the small schools, any of the PWIs is not going to get the bank. Okay.
Right.
It's not going to get the pomp and the parades. Right. So him going to Jackson State meant a lot because prime time was going to be head coach of Jackson State. There were people who declared at bigger PWIs, something like, I'm going to go to Jackson State because Deion Sanders is the head coach. And he was acting like Unc at the 4th of July cookout, being really cool, bringing Brittany Renner to campus to teach y'all about, and I'm putting this in quote, hoe culture. I'm like, let me just be very clear. Deion, your players are the hoes, but that's neither here nor there. And
you know what I'm saying? Can we just finally admit that it's the athletes that are the hosts?
It's like, why you like, let me tell you about hoe culture. You mean athletes? Shut the hell up, Deion.
The other part is I'm not mad at hosts. As long as everybody understands what they're doing.
Do you know I could not be a male athlete with very good problems? Because let me explain something to y'all. And I would be like 19 years old. I'd make my appointment for a reversible vasectomy that I will not reverse until I'm 33 and a half. Okay? I would be hoeing my whole fucking 20s. Okay? I'm like, I probably will meet my wife, some really cute girl named Katrina, or God knows what else, whatever name. Maybe her name will be Taylor. I like a black girl named Taylor, okay? Because I would be
like a black girl named Taylor.
Black girl named Taylor is the name of the show. Black girl named Taylor. That would be my girlfriend. And then we're finally like, girl, let's have. She's like, we're gonna start babies. Let me just make that appointment.
You know what it's gonna be? You know what it would be? It would be you went to high school with Taylor, but then you went to college and you got picked up for the sport. So now you're out there being a hoe. Taylor's going to college, doing their thing or whatever. 13 years, you coming up into retirement and you're starting to feel like it's time to settle down or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you run into Taylor when you go back home for Christmas. Christmas movie energy. Guys,
we don't wipe film treatments, okay? This is a film treatment.
Up. Yeah.
That's it. We're writing the script. John David Washington will play me.
There you go.
I'm like, I got this figured out. Okay. So Prime came to Jackson State. Well, a school in Colorado. Now, allegedly, his salary at Jackson State was about $300K. Now, again, HBCUs don't get the pomp and circumstance like the PWIs get, mostly because white people go to PWIs, right? There are people who go to HBCUs, but the ones that people really know about are people who go to Howard University in DC. And also HBCUs are mostly in the South. So it's
are there any in the North? Because I know we didn't have them in the West Coast.
They don't have them on the West Coast. I think the Midwest, they maybe one or two. This is how, when people say Maryland's not a Southern state, I'm like, HBCUs are only in the South. We have like 2 in Maryland. I could be. Yeah. I mean,
Maryland officially is a part of the South, but people don't think
we're
about
not
it as part of the South.
We're not a Confederate state. We are a Southern state. There really is different, because I think everything. If you're in Confederacy, you're at the South. I'm like, all the states in the South were not in Confederacy.
Right.
I don't have time for this. That's another show.
That's another episode.
That's another show. But yeah. So again, HBCUs don't also pull it up because one, they have to go sit and go to the Tower of Doom and go and like get money every year for their schools. Hence that one photo of people, literally the presidents of those HBCUs, not smiling with that little orange marmalade demon. And like, why would y'all do that? Because what would happen if they didn't go? It would be like Homelander. Yeah, you can go ahead and take everything from me, but then I won't have anything to lose. I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that for any of those students. They thought more of their students than themselves. I don't blame them, and I never will. So apparently, there is a school in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. I can't believe this. I really, who said they are going, his salary is for 5 years is going to be $29.5 million. Again, a school that I have never heard of, Colorado University, had $29 million to give him over 5 years. So the way that it's supposed to be slated is like it's a 5-year contract worth $29.5 million before bonuses and incentives. So Sanders, who, by the way, I didn't realize he was only 55. How did I get to the age where I'm like, she's only. I'm like, God, how did I get here? He will be slated to earn $5.5 million in his first season with a base pay of $500,000 supplemented by $1.75 million for radio, television, and public appearances, another $1.75 for promotion and fundraising, another $1.5 for development. They put this in quotes, development of the student athlete. That compensation would increase to $5.7 million in 24, $5.9 million in 25, $6.1 million in 26, and $6.3 million in 27. You know, because 22 plus 5 is 27. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they are marketing it and saying it is the largest financial package ever given to a CU football coach. And athletic director, excuse me, Rick George admitted that following his press conference, nobody had to cook out this year for Deion, baby. Hold on. Daggone bibblet booster knocked me on my ass. They said, we don't have the money yet, but I know we'll have it, so I'm not worried about that piece. Under the proposed agreement, Sanders would have a $5 million salary pool for his assistants and any support staff. So he has $5 million to get his own staff. The penalties invoked should Sanders, a Florida native who currently lives in Texas. And if you could have told me that Deion Sanders was a Florida nigga, I'd have been like, yeah, that tracks. Okay,
yeah,
that tracks.
I was gonna say that seems correct.
Yeah. Choose to end his tenure in Boulder before the end of the contract are fairly stiff. Sanders would owe CU $15 million in liquidated damages if he leaves the school after the first year of his deal.
Oh, so he has to go through the whole contract?
So it looks like if he leaves the school before the first year, he will have to pay them $15 million. His first year, he's supposed to get 5.5.
God damn! So he's locked in.
If it was, stay.
And I'm about to say the words in quotes, only 29 million, and he left after a year, and that's 15 out. And he, that's not a. So he's gonna have to. He's
the rest of his. This is crazy. Those damages drop to 10 million if it's after his second year, 8 million after his third, and 5 million if after his fourth or final years. If CU chooses to buy out Sanders' contract prematurely, aka fire his ass, it would owe him 75% of the remaining base and supplemental salary left on the duration of the agreement. Sanders' other potential incentives would include $750,000 if CU wins the national championship. Good luck. $450,000 if CU is invited to the New Year's 6 bowl game. Okay. $150,000 if CU wins 6 games in a season. Girl, what? $150,000 if CU wins the Pac-12. $150,000 if CU is invited to a non-New Year's 6 bowl game. $150,000 if Sanders is named National Coach of the Year. $100,000 for each additional win after 6 games. That's crazy. $75,000 if CU plays in a Pac-12 championship game. $75,000 if Sanders is named Pac-12 Coach of the Year. $50,000 each time CU attains a team APR of at least 965. I don't know what the fuck that means. In year 1, that bonus is achieved if CU attains a team APR of at least 954. Additionally, Sanders will receive $20,000 payment for moving expenses.
That's cute. That's adorable.
20,000.
Like I used to work in the tech industry, and the amount of times we paid between 25 and 50,000 to move somebody, like that he has as big a package as he does, but he only, like, again, I'm doing quotation fingers because I ain't got money like that. Only is getting 20,000 for moving. That's hilarious.
Honey, you know where I work, so I'm sitting here like, I know people who've gotten more. I'm not going to say anything.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I was like, shut the hell up. Sorry. The Pro Football Hall of Famer owes Jackson State roughly $300,000 for his contract buyout, according to Jackson.
Is Colorado going to play that?
Oh my God. They're saying he owes them. So maybe Sanders signed a 4-year contract. Okay. He signed a 4-year contract because people were saying his contract was $300K. So apparently that's not what this is. Sanders signed a 4-year contract with the FCS school in 2020 worth a reported $1.2 million. So he was supposed to stay until 2024. He's leaving 2 years early. The offer letter was dated December 1st and signed by Chancellor Phil DeStefano and Sanders. CU's next Regents meeting is tentatively slated for 9 a.m. Wednesday. A special meeting that had been earmarked for athletics this past Sunday was rescheduled. So, Deion Sanders, okay, y'all. I know y'all think all Black people can dance. Please, I implore you to Google "Must Be the Money" by Deion Sanders to watch his non-dancing ass. And I'm like, please no. Every Black person cannot dance, please.
TikTok has a whole movement of celebrating the Black people that don't have rhythm.
Child, rhythmless talk.
Rhythmless talk, yeah.
Rhythmless talk.
So how do you feel about this? Like, what's your take on?
I am of two minds of this because of the nature of my daytime job. Now,
okay.
Here's the problem. I have always maintained, I don't blame anybody for going for a bigger paycheck. If he was getting $1.2 million at Jackson and then moving to 29.5, I'm very confused what y'all are literally talking about. There's a lot of athletes in the sport that he used to play, football. When they leave teams for more money, y'all like, girl, get to the bag.
Get the bag, right? I mean, shit, we would do it. We would find out we could get $2,000 more a year from someplace and jump ship, and it'd be like, yeah, it was an extra $2,000.
7.8% salary increase. Talk to me. Let me see
what you're
gonna say. So on that part of it, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, like, anybody who has worked in employment actually had a career. Now, mind you, Deion Sanders had a more unconventional career because he was an athlete. It's like, you're not a traditional 9-to-5 going to punch in a clock or salaried. I mean, you're salaried, but you're not traditional salary, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, I was like, just looking at it saying he was paid something here. He's moving and getting more money.
Yeah.
The problem is all of the fucking talking that Deion Sanders did about HBCUs. That is his problem. He decided to come here like, I'm a shine a beacon. There's talent at HBCUs. Sir, you didn't even fulfill your first contract.
Yeah.
And you're talking this. The thing about it is, it's like, that is not all on Deion, because it can't be always like, we hustling. It's, a gig economy. It's hustle, sleep when you die, which is stupid, because what the hell?
Never again. Never again.
Never again. It's like, girl, get y'all some sleep. Take a nap.
Take a nap.
If you can take a nap during the day, please do it, especially if it's a rainy day. Get under your weighted blanket and sleep. Okay. Excuse me, I need it where it's mandated. Like, okay, 2:00, everybody nap.
It's nap time. The little beep goes off. Everybody pulls out their little cots.
Okay. So it's nap time. So the thing about it is like, Deion Sanders is right and wrong at the exact same time. And that's the problem.
I agree with, yes.
That's the problem. It's like, you're not wrong to get, the thing about it is that this is just Colorado University. This is not a USC or a Grambling or hell, even a University of Maryland here. It is not, it's not a Rutgers. Right. But here's the thing, and shout out to Bomani Jones from The Right Time, where he said, and I think it's a clip from CNN, and the thing about it is, you're not going to have this kind of conversation with people who don't really follow college ball like that. Right. To understand, or just ball in general, like a Bomani Jones. You're not going to get it. But what stuck out when he said that, here's the thing. him started at Jackson State. And I'm paraphrasing because this is not exactly what Bomani said. This ensured that he would never be an assistant coach. He went to Jackson as a head coach. When the fuck has Deion Sanders ever been a fucking coach anywhere?
Yeah.
He has been a player, Hall of Famer, analyst. He's probably done other businesses. However, whose coaching staff has he been on? Now he's been here 2 years as a head coach at an HBCU, and now he don't have to take assistant coach jobs. He don't have to be a position coach. The thing about it is, he actually, and I would not be surprised with this, going from Jackson State to Colorado University, head coach, then he could seemingly work his way back into the NFL. He ain't gonna start as a head coach. He ain't gonna,
right.
He ain't no.
But if he puts in the time, he could.
He could be a position coach, staff, probably be a coordinator, probably defensive coordinator. As much as I don't watch college ball, I do watch a lot of professional ball. Let's be very clear: you're not going to see a lot of Black offensive coordinators, but you are going to see a lot of Black defensive coordinators. And usually, the coordinators who become head coaches are usually offensive coordinators.
Mm.
I don't have I don't have like all the stats and scientific stuff, but please know. There was a offensive coordinator, a Black offensive coordinator. And usually if your team goes to the fucking Super Bowl, they are banging down your goddamn door for you to be a head coach, because some head coaches always losing their fucking job.
Yeah.
They didn't knock down his door to go get it. I'm like, he literally designed a way that this offense, because I believe and I'll have to make sure that I'm doing this right, because I believe it's Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. Or is it Tampa Bay? I have to look at it. They weren't beating down his door. However, the offensive coordinator from the Patriots, he got calls every fucking year. Could have the white offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots during Tom Brady's tenure. They always called Josh.
Yeah.
Every damn year. Because every year a head coach lost their job. I'm surprised we ain't heard about no head coaches being fired yet.
I think in the case of this Deion thing, like I agree with you, like get the bag type of thing. Like we, as a people, we're always happy to see someone get an opportunity that gets them more, Black person get more money and stuff like that. There's that. And I think there is an unfair pressure on Black rich people, that started out not rich, that they're always supposed to choose. Yeah, this is such a, I don't have a better way of saying this. So if it comes out a little problematic, I'm gonna get back into my explanation for it. That Black celebrities that make a lot of money, it's their obligation to go back and basically give up all their money back into the community, which is not something that white people are, not a standard white people are held to.
They do not ask them to do that.
Unless you're like a Boston white guy like Marky Mark, and even someone like him
even
doesn't necessarily get this.
What did he build up in Boston?
They'll say, they'll say give back to your community or whatever, give back to Southie or something like that. A little bit, but the heat is not on him for not doing it in a way that every Black celebrity, including Beyonce, will get. I live in the neighborhood she grew up in right now, and there is an apartment complex that holds her name on it and things like that. I know that there's things she does, but there are times when someone will say, does she do enough for this community? And it's kind of why is that necessarily her obligation? Although
it's not anybody's responsibility.
Yeah.
One person from a certain neighborhood to fix a systemic problem.
To fix a systemic problem. That being said, you still want to see it, because you want to be like, okay, rising tide lifts all boats, right? So there's but it's an unfair standard that is held against Black folks that come up, that they're supposed to, in a way that other groups don't have. No other group has it the way it's put on Black folks, so in that case, those are the reasons why in which he did what he did to get more money. All right, fine. It is because of what he was saying about HBCU, people sleep on HBCU, and it's true. What he said wasn't not true. It's just that he didn't stick it out. And again, like, I mean, okay, what he coached there for 2 years. Maybe over the course of those 2 years, something made him be like, well, it's not for me against $29 million. Like, maybe that is the case.
That's the thing. It's not like he left for like 1.5 million.
Yeah.
It's 29.5 million. That's what they're talking. And they're just like, we don't have all that money. Time out. He left for a promissory note of 29.5. And here's the thing. If y'all got to tear down buildings to do so, you will pay him his fucking money.
I mean, once you sign the contract, the obligation
you
is there.
are saying right. Now it's like, it's beyond a handshake. He's already had his press conference. This is the other thing that I sit with, and I sit with it a lot. So everybody's talking about Deion leaving, and I'm like, y'all, I can promise you, for my daytime, and y'all can probably guess what I do. I'm not telling you what I do. Y'all can guess what I do. Taria, don't you dare get on the internet and say what Stephanie does. I will drive to your house and kiss you, and then I'm going to fuss you out after we go and hang out and drink wine and just laugh, because that's what we do. I think about the fact that I'm like, y'all are literally saying we can't be like, get to the bag, get your coins, and not see that's literally what he's doing. And everybody's like, I think people are looking at it like he used this to parlay and springboard into another head coach position.
And shit, he might have.
He might have, but please stop acting like these white coaches don't do it. Here's the other part about it. You saw people literally say, I'm going to declare and go to Jackson State because Deion Sanders is there.
Yeah, that's the part that makes me a little upset.
Out. And it's like, you have the star power of Deion Sanders because you're not just a former athlete. There's a lot of former football players, okay? Yeah. You are Hall of Famer Deion Prime Sanders. You are a big fucking deal. Everybody knows who the fuck you are. But here's the other thing. Why is it that you need star power to bring your own people to HBCUs? Why is it that you had to get to star power? I'm like, see, he's changing the tide. I'm like, wait a minute. It's very bring it on. We the best squad around for years and nobody ever sees us. Mm-hmm. Please know, there are some ballers at HBCUs. There always have been. Check any goddamn sport. You got monsters on these teams and they don't get seen because people are like, oh, I ain't going to HBCUs. It might be in a rough neighborhood. It's not, by the way. It's like, you know what? Y'all don't go see the talented HBCUs. And then it's like, it started a conversation because Deion took a job there. Because that's the thing. Whether we want to like admit it or not, it is a huge gamble for Jackson State to make their head football coach Deion Sanders. Yes, he knows how to play the fucking sport. Does he have a coaching resume?
I mean, that's the thing. It's just because you know how to do something, you don't necessarily know how to teach other people to do that same thing. You know, it's like your best performer in the job becoming manager because of seniority over time and things like that. And then they're a shit manager. They don't know how to manage. You know,
there's so many people who are like, they have like advanced degrees and they think because, you know, like your bachelor's, master's, postdoctorate, it's like, you know, you think about that and they're like, oh, you get the higher education. There's this thought of, that means you know what to do shit. Please know there are people who literally are doctors and they don't know how to change the settings on a website. I mean, say, I think it's broken.
As an HR manager, I have not recommended some of our highest performers in a position for a management bump because I'm like, they have no skill set. And unless you're going to coach them and groom them for management ahead of time, you know, a 5-year plan, that's not the guy. Keep that guy doing what he's going to do because productivity is going to drop when that guy becomes a manager. So that is a risk. Yes, Jackson State took
it's a huge risk. And it's like, it kind of paid off because one, Jackson State they didn't have a bad record. So it's kind of like, it was kind of like, it was a calculated risk. And it's like, it's fine for them. But the thing about it is, it's like, I can understand why people like, especially because so many people who are graduated from HBCUs take pride in it, because literally we could not go to school. They like, we don't want you niggers learning anything. So then it becomes, well, we're going to have our own school. Now the narrative has switched so much because white people get to tell us what the fuck that happened. Like, y'all just wanted your own schools. That's not why they did it. And please know, we are not the only oppressed group that have their own universities. Let's just say that. Because yeah, if Black people weren't allowed in the schools, please don't think any other racial oppressed racial group, racial demographic, they weren't allowed there either.
I mean, historically in the South, you were either Black or white. So if you weren't Black or white, you were Black. You know, like you just, that's where you got stuck because you weren't white. So yeah.
So many people who are considered white now were not white then.
We're not white back then. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, the thing about it is, on both sides of this, y'all are not necessarily wrong. If you're like,
both sides, right? Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's kind of like, you go, I can see, it's like, that's why I'm like, Deion Sanders, in this instance, he's right and wrong at the exact same time. People who have an issue with what he's doing, you're right. People who don't have an issue with this, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't, it's like, the thing about it is, there's no, and the thing about it is, this kind of situation, you shouldn't be looking like who's right in the situation. That's not the question.
Yeah.
It's not the question. And that shouldn't be the question.
Really, the only like, folks I feel bad for are the kids that went to the school because of Deion Sanders. And if they can get a transfer in or something like that, great. But then you're pulling them out of a HBCU and putting them into a PWI. That's a whole different experience. I like, again, like I told you, like I know I was the one who told you we didn't even have HBCUs in California and stuff like that. And so like you're the person who taught me the term PWI. I knew HBCU. I did not know PWI, and that was just what the schools were. You know, they just were.
Because that's the thing. It's like, you have these kids who are declaring. And again, guys, college football I don't follow, but I've heard the term walk on. So if you, so for anybody who's never heard the term walk on, like, what the hell does that mean? That means a athlete declared at a school, it's not working out, they want to transfer another team. They have to walk onto the team. So essentially, they are walking into that school, no scholarship, no like guaranteed room and board, nothing. They may have to pay for like a semester or two of that tuition. God knows how much it is now to walk on. So if they walk on and get a spot, then they get their athletic scholarship. They don't get it. It's like, they got to earn it.
They got to earn it.
The thing about it is, it's like, that is a tough position because everybody who walks on don't necessarily get the scholarship. So then it's like, you see these, like, if you like look at these stories of kids tearing up because they busted their ass to get on these teams.
Yeah.
So it's like people going like, I'm only going to Jackson State because Deion Sanders is there. I'm like,
yeah, those are the ones I feel bad
that's
for.
A little bit problematic for me, and just for Stephanie, it cannot be for you, because I think some people do go to schools because like, oh, like so and so gonna be there. Yeah. Imagine you play his same position now, and your head coach is the person that used to play your position.
Like that would be Deion fucking exciting.
Yeah. It's like, bitch, what?
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. But believe me, I'm like, I want to see Deion's coaching resume. I'm sitting here.
No, but you know, like that's the thing is, and nothing is a guarantee, right? So even as you're signing that application form to, you know, to go to that school, it's still a risk that he's not going to be there forever. Like, you know, nothing is guaranteed. Even if something has a contract associated with it, obviously he can buy himself out, or they can buy him out, or whatever the fuck. So you know that the risk is there. It's just that hope, because you assume that a lot of these kids that are getting on scholarships anyway, they're getting scholarships on talent. But like, they might not have been able to do that otherwise. So there's stacks of why it's a big deal for them to have that opportunity. So that, you know, that's why I feel worse for them. That being said, I just, the standard that we will hold a Black person up to for the betterment of the entire community, in the way that white people just don't ever have that problem.
They don't have that pressure. So I will tell you this. We can Google Deion Sanders. So let me tell you what his coaching career is. While continuing his work as an NFL analyst, because Prime Time is an analyst, Sanders became the head coach for the Prime Prep Academy, which he co-founded, so his own school. He stayed as the head coach for 2012 and 2013. In 2015, he was hired as the head coach for AAA Academy, where he coached for 2 seasons. In 2017, Sanders became the offensive coordinator for Trinity Christian High School, which gave him the opportunity to coach his son Shiloh and Shador. He stayed there in 2020, and then on September 21st, 2020, Deion Sanders became the 21st head coach of the Jackson State Tigers. So he went from coaching high school to being a head coach of a college.
But he's also Deion Sanders, so it's not like he's just some random ass dude who did that and made that jump.
I can make the amendment that he does have coaching experience. It's just not at the college level. He taught like one at his own school. I'm saying taught, coached at his own school. These are all high schools. One of them he like founded, which I didn't realize he had his own school. Kind of like LeBron, Mr. Thigh Meats himself.
LeBron has some surprising thigh meats. See, you know,
I'm sorry. I'm like,
the hairline distracts you from.
It don't distract me because I ain't looking at it.
Well, what I'm saying is that it took many years to get past the hairline to see the thigh meats. Now I understand that the thigh meats are there, but I didn't know for many, many years that the thigh meats were there.
Yeah.
You know, I got to see LeBron's very first NBA game.
Did you?
Yep. I got free tickets from my boss for Sacramento Kings, and that was his debut. That was his debut thing. I remember them announcing it while we were there.
That is dope. So again, I'm talking about Deion Sanders and his record. So his first year, their overall record was 4-3, and that the reason it's so low is because that was the first year of the pepperoni pizza. But 2021 season, 11-2. 2022 season, apparently his overall record is 12-0. So essentially, he had 2 very good seasons, because I feel like for all the sports teams, 2020 is a season they're like, yeah, we don't really take this seriously, even though those kids busted their ass to play. Like, the thing about it is, I'm not going to shortchange that season, especially when them kids busted their ass, and they usually do. So again, that's why I sit here like I'm of 2 minds of this. But the thing about it, if you are like Deion, you did all this like, you know, pontificating and preaching about the power of HBCUs, meaning that you inspire people to come to Jackson State. I don't know if anybody else went and declared for other HBCUs throughout the South. I think there may be 1 or 2 in the Midwest. I'm gonna look that up because I think it's just maybe 1 or 2. Just know those kids who are like, I'm gonna leave this, they may have had and I'm not gonna say a better I'm only saying better opportunity in quotes, because PWIs have more money than HBCUs, unfortunately. They get like the national recognition, they have the big time alumni or alumnus, alumni, how you want to say it. And it's kind of like you go, yeah, if this bothers you what Deion Sanders did, you're not wrong. If it doesn't bother you, you're not wrong. It's kind of like there's no right and wrong on this.
Well, the thing is, there's a better way Deion could have handled it, right? Because like I've made a joke like this on my podcast forever. It's like Militantly Mixed is my podcast. I'm an independent podcaster. This is, you know, no one's ever gonna get that. That being said, someone wants to drop me $1 million check to join Spotify, I'm signing up. You know what I'm saying? Like I've made that joke before.
What can I not say? Let me know. It's like it's like we're not going to tell Black people don't get to the bag.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Bags. It's like we're not going to do that.
Is it a detriment? Yes. Is that necessarily his responsibility? Kind of yes and no, right? Like because you can't put that on one person's shoulders, but yes, because what you said and what you did, like I want to believe that people are of their, you know, I try to take people for their words, and then when their actions show me something different, the way I get disappointed is pretty heavy. And of course I don't have a personal stake in this one, but like if he had made a commitment, like a verbal commitment to the community of just like, this is my lane, this is where I'm going to be, this is the people I'm going to support, because the world is sleeping on these athletes, and then he takes another job, like I mean, I hate that I'm about to say these words because capitalism, but like at least he did it for a 78% whatever increase and not for like $1 million. Like at least it was
Imagine if he went to
29
like
and not
someplace
like
in 2.5. It's like,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, it's like what the hell? But it's like
you like is that
1.2,
enough?
29.5. Like, I'm sorry, I'm no mathematician here.
Yeah, because like if my thought about that, like, because here's the other thing, he could be a sleeper agent. He could be taking that big bag and then still choosing to go back to the other plate, like later, like he could be doing that.
$5 million. It's like he has he has $5 million to play. He could get a all black staff. He really could.
He could, and that's another thing, right? Like now you're getting a whole bunch of black people PWI jobs, which will carry more weight, unfortunately, in the NFL if that's what they want to do, or at other colleges if that's what they want to do. Like there are ways in which this doesn't have to be the letdown to the black community if he moves for blackness there. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I imagine schools like Colorado, Utah, like all those in those like, not just snowy white, but like super white places. That being black students in those places are probably tough. If there were more black staff, that could be a lot easier.
Because representation means something. It's like you expect to see that representation at a HBCU.
Listen, the last job I had in the tech industry as a senior HR manager started out, I was the 21st employee. It was predominantly white with a handful of Indian people. By the time I left, there was 160 something people on the day that I left. The majority of our staff at that point was black and brown. They were Indian, they were Asian, and they were black. And my boss one day looks around and he pulls me to the side and he's like, the atmosphere has changed a lot.
Oh, child. I swear, they love to walk on eggshells. Like,
what I'm saying?
Make it plain. Like, listen, to the preacher.
Here's the way I elevated. Like, I couldn't do it like crazy, but what I could do is, hey, we got 200 resumes for this position, and sometimes the people of a darker hue ended up at the top of the pile, and maybe my bosses got tired by the time they got down to the pale faces. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
That is the way I was able to move, and where like, I knew I couldn't do big overt moves to prioritize black folks and brown folks, but I could make those kinds of moves. And in actuality, it did shift the temperature of the room, or what was it? The atmosphere. Like it did shift that, because just by nature of like what about humans, they get tired if they have to go through a lot of stuff. So I organized things in a way that allowed me to let them get tired before they got to the, you know what I'm saying? Like Deion can do something like that.
He can. It's like, if we talk about the nepotism that we see that doesn't benefit us, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do this with you. I'm like, you don't think? I'm like, do you know how many rich people's kids just get thrown in the door?
Yeah.
And they're just the owner's child, and that's it.
And that shit, like I've seen that in the film industry. I've seen that in the tech industry. It's gross. They're unqualified. It sucks. You end up having to work harder because they exist and stuff like that, So yes, we can do it too. It's different. It looks different when we do it, because we're actually creating opportunities.
We get kind of like us. I'll say us. That's not the word I want to use. It's definitely a narrower view of us when we do it, because they're like, you're only doing it because they're black. I'm like, or they're black and a woman. It's like, yeah, but when y'all do it, y'all like, oh, it's the good old boy. Nope, that is
when we do it. It's like this person is a highly skilled person that's not going to have an opportunity. When y'all do it, it's this person has no skill set, but they're related to somebody rich.
You don't want to look at their resume because you're looking at their name.
Yeah. How many times in a meeting I had to hear, this person is so-and-so's son, or this person is so-and-so's nephew, which meant stand down. I like, that's why I don't want to work like that anymore. That's why I haven't gone back into another jobby job, even though
jobby job,
money's tight and shit like that. I haven't done it because I can't do that shit anymore. That's how I'm moving going forward, So if he, I hope that's the way he does things. I hope.
I hope so.
But is it my is it my place?
No.
Nah.
No. It's like, I'm not going to tell y'all how to feel. But just like, and then I'm going to put a button on this. Just like y'all are like, why y'all not talking more about Jerry Jones' photo or Brett Favre? Why aren't y'all? I'm sorry. Grand opening, Grand Cola. Okay, he got a new job. Anyway, so when y'all going to like turn the screws on Jerry Jones?
Yeah.
Turn the screws on Brett Favre.
They're not going to do that.
They're not. But y'all.
We've been knowing those good old boys the whole time. We didn't even need the picture.
Yeah, good old boy.
Like technically, like if you really think about it with Jerry Jones, did we need to see the picture?
Girl, that's a white man from Jerome named Jerome in the South. Like, girl,
he's been telling on himself. He has been telling on himself forever. We never even needed to see the picture. It should have been nipped in the bud way back.
I would be shocked if he was like at a NAACP march. Then I'd be like, girl, what?
Then you'd be,
Jerome.
then. Yeah.
But this girl, fuck y'all. It's like, I'm not doing this. But y'all, we have a show. Maine has several different podcasts. But before we get out of here, and usually I say like the podcast, Maine just had a birthday. So drop your Cash App and your Venmo, honey.
Okay. I need like the last $120 of my tattoo fund. So okay, Cash App and Venmo. So my Cash App, because I can't change it no more, is SirAuntieMane, AUNTIE, because that's the correct way to spell auntie, and Maine, MANE, because that's the correct way to spell Maine. And my Venmo is DA Blasian Blerd, just like my Instagram handle. Yeah.
And don't worry, because this will be on the show notes. So yeah,
it'll be in the show notes. Get it in. Yeah, I put it up as a joke. Like, I was like, yeah, I just put a little picture of like a bottle that says tattoo fund. And I was like, my birthday's coming up. If anybody wants to drop, and I didn't actually expect to get anything. I've actually gotten my tattoo is going to cost $600. I've actually gotten, I think I got 500, but I've like spent like $20 of it. So that's why I'm like 120 I need. But I mean, I have the $120, but if you know what I'm saying. If people
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So yes, please give to the tattoo fund. Please listen to all of Many Maine's places.
Militantly Mixed, BlerdcoMIXED, what's my other show? Bi-Furious and Queer and Far. I got so many shows I don't remember.
Right. It's like, oh my gosh. That is so hilarious.
You know what
is the name of your podcast network, by the way?
Main Hustle Media. Turning my side hustle into my main hustle.
Yeah. See how that works. See how that's it. Promote your shit, bitch. Promote it. But y'all, I'm gonna let Maine out here because you said she got 4 more shows. I mean, I actually got to jump
off of this to jump on to Blerd.
Right. Skedaddle to record with my my Mario Van Peebles, my I'll be sure exclamation point.
The I'll be sure reference is pretty funny.
It's like, pretty funny. What? I'm like, sir, don't do this. You know exactly why I said that. Shut up. But this has been the Militantly Mixed. Oh my god,
that's hilarious. This has been Militantly Mixed, y'all. Don't forget to be a mix ourselves.
But y'all, this has been Mocha Minutes. I will be back next week.
Bye.
Look. We don't have to ask what if the best black players went to black schools. It happened before, back when some of the best football players in the country had no choice but to come to black colleges. And the schools were as broke then as they are now. So maybe HBCUs can make more money now with those players. But let me remind you what the essence of college sports is. Taking money from the people who do the work and giving it to the overseers and supervisors. A neo-plantation mentality. White folks heard plantation, jumped up like the fire alarm went off. But hey, man, those aren't my words. That's Walter Byers, the first executive director of the NCAA. He started this gangster shit and felt bad enough about it that he turned on his own creation. Listen to that man. We don't need HBCUs to be the new slave owners. And even if we wanted to, you think the man gonna give us 40 acres this time? You think they gonna sit back and let us mule kick them in football? Can you imagine what would happen if Jackson State beat the brakes off Ole Miss? They pulled Deion over on that scooter he rides on the sideline and plant an 8-ball in his pocket. You don't believe me? Look what happened the last time white folks took an L in the big game. The fact that we're even talking like this tells me we're not really grasping the purpose of HBCUs or what they could and should be doing.